Hello guy and welcome back to another episode of The Return of the Flash Part 5. Chapter 13. Author's note: alright people. I have nothing to address as of now, so let's get on with the story. As soon as the siblings left, Naruto bade a hasty goodbye to Konohamaru and shunshined out of there straight to Training Ground 6. That team, he noted, doesn't train much, so they wouldn't mind him using their training ground. As he created a few shadow clones for sparring, Kurama briefly brought him into his mindscape. Naruto, do you know why that boy felt so familiar to you? He asked, tail swaying behind him as he looked at Naruto. Naruto folded his arms. Good to know that it wasn't just me then. I believe that he is another Jinchuriki. Kurama nodded, exactly. But be on guard, his Bijou is dangerous, and because of who is inside him, it's possible that the boy is completely mad. Naruto tilted his head curiously. It's not every day that the nine-tailed fox says someone is powerful. Just who is inside him, Kurama? The one-tailed raccoon, Shukaku. He is the weakest of the tailed beasts, and batshit insane. He said it with a serious face, at which Naruto would have laughed if not for the fact that he realized that another Jinchuriki is roaming unchecked in Konoha. Jinchuriki, according to the stuff he has read up until now, are usually sent into other villages so they can burn or crush it into the ground. And he didn't see any person with Gaara who was in charge of him. Kankuro and Temari certainly couldn't control him, evidenced by how much afraid they are of him. Kurama continued, you notice the black rings around his eyes? It means that he hasn't slept in years, probably. Naruto went wide-eyed at that. What the hell? Kurama nodded in complete seriousness. Suna doesn't have any great seal masters, so the seal on that Jinchuriki is quite loose, compared to yours. If the host falls asleep, Shukaku will take control and come out. Best be on guard, because he already got you in his sights, no doubt from sensing my presence within you. Naruto agreed. Thanks for the warning, Kurama. I'll keep it in mind. With that, he exited his mindscape and focused on the defending exercise. As he blocked and dodged every strike from his clones, he hoped that Kakashi would enter them in the Chunin exams. Then another thought came to his mind, more specifically, a person. He smiled wistfully as he punched a clone in the ribs, dispelling it. He had never seen such a beautiful girl ever before. Then again, there weren't many girls of his age in Konoha, and Ino and Sakura didn't count. He knew from the day he saw them that he wouldn't be liking them anytime soon. Temari was different, however, and in a good way. Her looks were quite exotic, especially her eyes. He had never seen eyes of that color, and he had to admit, it was quite easy getting lost in them for him. He knew, from his own observations, that his own eye color was one of a kind in all of Konoha. Her being a blonde like him was only a plus point in his eyes. From what he had observed and could tell, she and the two other shinobi were siblings, with Temari being the oldest. It was pretty easy to reach that conclusion. Temari and Gaara shared the same eyes and facial shape, but Temari shared the shape of her eyes with Kankuro, not to mention the way she acted with him. Very much like an older sister who was used to bashing her brother's head but didn't because they were in public. And that smirk, oh Kami. He could say with full certainty that it was the sexiest smirk he had seen among the girls of his age, which was quite ironic seeing he created the sexy jutsu. Her smile was not far behind, though it could easily beat her smirk when coupled with a very pretty blush that came over her face while she was looking at him. He could not wait to see her again. XX. Team 7 was standing on the bridge and as usual, waiting for their tardy mess of a sensei. It had been almost 3 hours, when Sakura finally cracked. With a scream of frustration that no doubt scared the birds resting a mile away, she ranted, Arg. Why does Kakashi-sensei always make us wait when he's the one who always calls us? She began ranting about she had woken up late and hadn't had the chance to blow dry her hair. Naruto and Sasuke glanced at each other, sharing a look of shared suffering. While Naruto had just turned up 20 minutes ago, he still couldn't bear Sakura's incessant nonsense. Why the hell does she have to be so damn loud every time? Was the thought that went through the boys' heads. Naruto finally sensed Kakashi's presence heading their way and straightened up. Sasuke, who had learned to read Naruto's body language after a while, straightened up as well, knowing that his teammate had sensed someone coming their way. True enough, there was a puff of smoke, which turned out to be Kakashi. Waving a hand at them, he had the nerve to cheerfully excuse himself, hello there. I got lost on the road of life today. Only someone like you could get lost on a one-way road, Naruto grumbled, hands in his pockets and giving Kakashi a deadpan look. I'll pretend you didn't say that and get to the point. He held up 3 application tickets. I nominated you 3 for the Chunin selection exams. You are not forced to take it, however. You have a choice whether to take part in it or not. How he managed to say in his ever-lazy tone of voice and still sound serious was beyond Naruto's understanding. Must be innate talent, he mused. Though if you do decide to take them, go to the academy in 6 days at 3 in the afternoon, room 301, he added. They were dismissed after that. Naruto suggested that they get lunch together, after which they can go their separate ways to train. While they were walking to Ichiraku Ramen, Naruto noticed that Sakura looked quite uncertain, which matched the feeling of her chakra. Something bothering you, Sakura? Sakura blinked and looked at Naruto, a nervous smile appearing in her face, and no, Naruto. Everything's fine. Sasuke too noticed her behavior, but kept quiet. As long as she was ready for the Chunin exams, it was fine. Naruto on the other hand, had doubts. He knew that Chunin exams were no joke. Ninja from all the villages participated and at times, death happened. He would be scared too, if he didn't train his ass off every day. Hope this exam teaches you a lesson, Sakura. The world of shinobi is not a place for fangirls, he grimly thought to himself. They went into the bar and were greeted by Teuchi with a warm grin. Oh, Naruto and his team. Come and have a seat. Naruto grinned. Old man Teuchi never failed to bring a smile on his face. His amusement grew when he heard Sasuke mutter, "Stop saying it like he is the leader of this team." As they sat down on the stools, Teuchi asked for orders. Naruto was the first to speak. I'll have 2 miso ramen, please. Sakura spoke next. 1 Tarinaki ramen, please. Sasuke was the last. I'll have a tonkatsu ramen, thank you. Naruto envied the way Sasuke ordered his food. The arrogance came so natural to him, Naruto wished that he could do it as well. He turned to Sakura, who looked worried about something. Come to think of it, she has been acting strange ever since the topic of Chunin exams came up, he thought. It's not that strange for weaklings to feel this way when they are faced with the unknown, Kurama offered his view. Naruto rolled his eyes and ignored the comment, though he didn't deny it either. So, he decided to talk to her. Speaking in a low tone, he asked her, Sakura, how do you feel about the Chunin exams? Sakura was startled when he suddenly spoke to her. Calming down herself, she was about to tell him to mind his own business when she met his eyes. So full of sincerity, and he seemed to genuinely want to listen to her. She hesitated, not sure of how she should say it. It's kind of scary, you know? Right now, I know that I'm not ready, but when will I know that I am? Her thoughts were very much jumbled up right now to be phrased properly. Naruto said nothing until their order arrived. He separated his sticks and as he waited for it to cool a bit, he spoke. I won't sugarcoat my words, Sakura, but you haven't trained seriously since the academy, and even then, you probably did the bare minimum of what the instructors told to do, didn't you? Her silence and shameful expression told him that his deduction was spot on. A side glance also told him that Sasuke was eating his food quietly, not paying any attention to them. But that did not fool Naruto, who smirked when he observed Sasuke's body was tilted towards their side. He continued, ever since the academy and even after when our team was formed, you kept neglecting your training in favor of pining after Sasuke, even going on a diet in the process. He didn't stop eating his food at all, looking as if talking about the weather. Sakura felt like she wanted to find a hole and climb into it and never come out. She wanted so badly to tell Naruto to shut up, but bitter truth in his words stopped her from doing it. She would be lying to herself that she did not know what Naruto was talking about. Naruto kept a careful eye on the pink-haired girl. Now that she had seen her situation laid bare in front of her instead of being buried deep inside her mind, it was time to let her know of the consequences. Now look at yourself. You don't have the physique required for a strong kunoichi. Your neglect of training means you have no grasp of the basic skills to improve further upon them. Your weapon throwing is mediocre at best. All you have is excellent chakra control, but let's face it, you aren't the only one who does. Kakashi-sensei said that you are a genjutsu type, but you don't know any genjutsu, nor can you dispel one, as proven in the Bell test. In short, one hit is all what anyone needs to take you out. He finished his meal and was now looking straight at her. He won't stop now. Sakura needed to hear this. It was time she faced the facts. Sakura was barely keeping from bursting out in tears. Everything Naruto said was true, and while she hated to admit it, the facts made her sound pathetic. Ever since the academy, she had only increased her efforts in impressing Sasuke instead of bettering herself. She had repeatedly told herself that Sasuke would save her whenever she would be in danger. Her being with Sasuke on the same team only reinforced that belief. But in the C rank turned A rank, she felt for the first time that she was the one who was utterly useless on their team. What was worse, was that she did not do anything to change it after returning, still hoping to get together with Sasuke. Oh, one hit. Am I really that pathetic and useless? She knew the answer to that question. While she did have some natural strength, it was useless to her if she did not know how to use it. Naruto and Sasuke were strong too, but what made them strong that they had the strength to take a hit and get back up, only to dish it back with even greater ferocity. Sakura could dish it out, and even that was questionable, but couldn't take the punishment. She couldn't take a punch to her gut and have the strength to get up. Naruto had been quietly watching Sakura and he had to say, the girl looked just one more truth away from bursting into tears. He had, while Sakura was wallowing in guilt, quietly motioned Sasuke to leave. The dark-haired boy had looked outraged that Naruto was waving him away like a servant and had almost tore into him when he saw the serious and somber look in his eyes. Naruto had mouthed to him that Sakura would be heartbroken if she were to learn that Sasuke saw her in her moment of weakness. So he quietly finished his food and went outside, leaning against the wall and waiting for them. Now that the tough part of learning about the consequences was over, it was time for some motivation. He changed the topic of the conversation. Idly spinning the chopsticks between his fingers, he said, I saw Team 10 the other day. He quietly cheered when he saw the tiny spark of interest in her eyes. On Team 10 was Sakura's rival, Ino. Oh. Yeah, and Ino challenged me to a spar. Can you believe that? He gave an amused shake of his head. Sakura too, gave a small chuckle at that. Ino had no chance of defeating Naruto when Sasuke had trouble just trying to match him. She was a bit less pathetic than you, but pathetic all the same. Isn't she your rival, Sakura? By now, she found it easier to concentrate on the conversation than her guilt. Yes, she is. Naruto adopted a look of confusion. Then why are you not trying to beat her? You don't want to lose Sasuke to her, right? That did catch her attention, because her eyes now held a little panic. What do you mean by losing Sasuke? Naruto debated whether to tell her or not. This was the true key to motivating a person with a rival, bring a common goal in between them. Ino and Sakura were still competing for Sasuke's attention, which was the perfect way for him to take advantage and motivate her. He fully turned to face her. You might not know this, but Sasuke's the last Uchiha alive who is still loyal to Konoha, and as such, he has to repopulate his clan. You know what that means, right? He gave her a pointed look. A dark blush came over her face, but she nodded. She couldn't believe how Naruto could talk about it without feeling the least bit awkward. She didn't know that he did, but he just hid his awkwardness better than others. Naruto continued, to do it, he will need strong women in the future. It all comes down to this: if you don't get strong enough, he will pick Ino over you and you will be left behind. The desired effect was achieved when he saw a fire light up in her eyes. Yet, she definitely couldn't stand losing to Ino. Oh, he almost forgot. One more thing. The answer to your question, you won't. There is no one to tell you that you are ready. It's a leap of faith. He got up and put some money on the counter. That's all it is, Sakura, a leap of faith, he softly finished. Just before he left, he saw something he had definitely not seen in her eyes ever before. Fierce determination. Unknown to the team, Aim and Tucci were quietly listening in on their conversation. By the end of it, Aim looked amazed at the way Naruto had successfully managed to motivate her. He was born to be a leader. I know it, she thought with a smile. Tucci was smiling like he was the proudest man in the world. He had been attending to Naruto for years and he always knew that Naruto was destined for great things. After witnessing firsthand Naruto's motivational speech, it only reinforced what he already knew. Naruto, you will become the greatest Hokage this village has ever seen. Walking out, he immediately silenced Sasuke, who opened his mouth, no doubt to rant at him for bringing him into this, and motioned him to follow him. They jumped onto the opposite rooftop and crouched. What are we waiting for? Sasuke whispered. Just watch, Naruto said, pointing to the ramen bar. A few moments later, Sakura walked out and Sasuke could definitely see that she was different. Her fangirl was still visible in her eyes, but was now overshadowed by a fierce look of determination. He watched, amazed that she did not even seem to look for him, instead, turning around and heading towards the training grounds. He turned to his blonde comrade, who was watching Sakura go away with a smile and no small amount of self-satisfaction. What did you do? Hell, even his voice was filled with stupefaction. Naruto gave an innocent shrug, the smile still on his face. Nothing, just pointed her in the direction of success. He left after that, leaving a speechless Sasuke behind. XX. Naruto was just roaming around the training grounds, having finished his training 15 minutes ago. He felt really good after motivating Sakura to become stronger today. Just as he was turning to leave, he sensed it. 3 chakra signatures, 200 meters away. One was average, other a bit above average, and the last, which was faintly familiar, only a bit above a civilian's. He had already sent a few clones home to prepare dinner, and since there was still time, why not train his stealth skills a bit? He jogged on his toes, cautious not to make any sound. When he was just 50 meters away, he stopped and made a half-ram seal. A puff of smoke later, a small, light brown fox was standing in his place. Lowering his chakra signature by a significant margin, he moved forward. This should allow me to get close, he thought as he hid 2 trees away from the chakra signatures. You heard? The upcoming Chunin exams will have rookies for the first time in 5 years. The fox's eyes narrowed. I know that voice. It's Rock Lee, the kid I met during one of my morning rounds. No way. The Jonins must be trying to look good, another voice joined in. This one held confidence, bordering on overconfidence. Lee spoke again, 3 of them are from Kakashi's unit as well, you know. The last voice finally spoke. But unlike the previous 2, this held a sort of arrogance not unlike Sasuke's. That's interesting. Either way, the girl spoke, who Naruto finally identified as Tenten from the Higurashi weapons shop. That's quite pitiful for them, the arrogant voice spoke as if he already knew who was going to win. Naruto decided that was enough and turned to go back, but he cursed when he stepped on a twig. He could not even sense, since he would be molding chakra, and alerting them was the last thing he wanted to do. Don't worry, the arrogant one spoke, it's just a fox. Naruto inwardly sighed in relief and ran away and did not turn back into himself until he was out of the training grounds. The thought didn't cross his mind that how did he know that it was only a fox? One thing is for sure. These Chunin exams will definitely be interesting. XX. 6 days passed and it was the day of the Chunin exams. Sasuke and Naruto had arrived at the academy, and Naruto could tell, Sasuke was fired up like anything. The only one left to arrive was Sakura. They were simply waiting outside the gates when Sakura arrived. And there was something visibly different about her. She looked like usual, but her posture had a confidence that both of them hadn't seen before. Naruto looked into her eyes and smiled at what he saw. Resolve. Resolve to see this through, and she didn't look the least bit uncertain. Good morning Naruto, Sasuke-kun, she greeted. Sasuke, for his part, hid his surprise just barely. Whenever she greeted him, she did like a fangirl. Now, she looked just like a determined kunoichi. Good morning Sakura, Naruto greeted with a nod. Sasuke just gave his customary grunt. Let's stop wasting time in greetings and go, he ordered curtly, striding inside without even waiting for them. Sakura gave an amused look to Naruto, who just shrugged in a way that said, what can you do? They caught up to him and ascended the stairs, silently and focused. The sound of a crowd caught their attention and they went to investigate. Upon arriving at the scene, they stared in surprise at the large crowd. What the hell was going on? Then Naruto sensed the genjutsu over the whole corridor and narrowed his eyes. In front of them were 2 guards who looked suspiciously familiar. Naruto narrowed his eyes at them and it suddenly came to him, causing him to resist a facepalm. Who were Izumo and Kotetsu trying to fool with that obvious hench? Sasuke nudged Sakura, this is only the 2nd floor, isn't it? Sakura looked at him in surprise. Sasuke never, ever talked to her so actively. She looked at Naruto, who gave her a thumbs up. She turned to Sasuke and spoke confidently, hi, since we've only climbed 2 floors. This is obviously a genjutsu. Sasuke then nodded to himself and started walking to the crowd, mostly to show off by proclaiming that a genjutsu of this caliber does not fool him. But a hand to his shoulder caused him to turn around and glare at Naruto, who was shaking his head. The people over there still haven't noticed that they are still just on the 2nd floor, he said softly. This is probably a test designed to weed out the weaklings, so let's just slip by, nice and quiet, he suggested. Sasuke found that this was becoming quite frequent. Him going off to do something, Naruto stopping him and giving a suggestion, Sasuke agreeing, albeit grudgingly, that the suggestion was better and following Naruto. Even now, Naruto's suggestion was strategically better. Reducing the competition meant their chance of winning was higher. To be completely honest, Sasuke was jealous of Naruto. He was jealous of his strength, his skills, his natural charisma, the way that leadership seemed to fit with him like a glove, how it came to him so naturally. Obviously, his own desire to be at the top and be leader clashed with Naruto's. He could not stand to remain second best, especially to Naruto of all people. Clenching his fists in his pockets, he nodded and as one, quietly slipped through the crowd and took the stairs to the third floor. As they were heading to 301, a voice came from above them. "Hey, you, the one with the dark eyes. Please wait." They all turned and looked above to see a kid wearing a tight, green jumpsuit and orange leg warmers. His black hair had a bowl-cut style and he had amazingly thick eyebrows. He was looking at Sasuke. Naruto rose an eyebrow at him. "What is Lee playing at?" Lee jumped down to their level and it was only then he recognized Naruto. He gave off a blinding grin. "Naruto-kun. What a youthful surprise to see you here." Sakura and Sasuke gave Naruto mildly horrified looks. They didn't know that Naruto knew this weirdo. As for Naruto, he just took a page from Kakashi's book and gave a lazy wave in a lazy voice. "Yo." It turned out be the wrong thing to say, as Lee cried out while shaking a fist. "What hip and cool attitude. Your flames of youth seem to have diminished since the last time we met." Naruto shrugged and decided to intervene in case Lee takes off on a tangent. "So Lee, why did you stop us?" Lee suddenly sobered and turned to Sasuke. "Sorry, I got distracted. My name is Rock Lee, and I wish to challenge this year's prodigy, Uchiha Sasuke, to a fight." Sasuke replied back coldly, "And why should I give you the time?" He gave a once-over and found him lacking any sort of strength whatsoever. He, however, didn't like the way Lee called him a prodigy. A prodigy should stand out of a crowd, and the title felt cheap because Naruto was stronger than him. Lee smiled. "I am the strongest Konoha genin right now. A test for myself, and to see if you're as good as everyone says you are." Sasuke smirked, causing Naruto to sigh in resignation. Just a mention of a fight was enough to get Sasuke's blood pumping. 10 minutes later, he found himself looking at a beat-up Sasuke and wondered if it was a mistake or did Sasuke deliberately underestimate Lee. Judging from appearance, Lee was nothing special. But apparently, Sasuke had never heard the phrase, "appearances can be deceiving." Lee had absolutely dominated the fight, even when Sasuke had activated his Sharingan. All throughout the fight, Sasuke had been trying to just find Lee, because he was unbelievably fast. Of course, Naruto had easily followed Lee's movements, because he himself had surpassed that speed with his resistance seals activated at level 11 long ago. He closely observed that even when Sasuke had just begun to react fast enough, he was smashed by Lee's superior taijutsu skills and pure speed. Just when Lee was about to end the fight, it was ended by a talking turtle of all people. "Lee. That technique is forbidden." He yelled at him. Lee bowed his head in apology. "I'm sorry, I got carried away." The turtle glared at Lee, causing him to flinch. But I wasn't planning to use the R reverse version." "Baka." The turtle exclaimed, causing Lee to flinch again. "You think that excuse will work? You should know what it means for a shinobi to expose his move." While the turtle was busy reprimanding Lee, Naruto glanced over to see if Sasuke was alright, but he wished he hadn't. Sasuke had a look of absolute loathing on his face as he glared at Lee and the turtle. I lost to that weirdo." He looked over to Sakura and saw that she was still shocked at the pure speed that Lee displayed. Looking over to Naruto, he resisted the urge to roar in rage. Naruto was looking bored, just as he was before the fight. There was not a single trace of alarm or fear that Sasuke could see. Which meant only one thing: Naruto was certain, no, absolutely confident that he could take on Lee and win. Just how strong is he? He doesn't look alarmed in the least. That means he knows he is stronger and faster than the weirdo. He knows he could counter Lee's every move, whereas I couldn't even follow that guy. Is Naruto even in the same league as the rest of the genin? How can I, with the Sharingan, still not match up to him? Were the thoughts rushing through his head. He hated being weaker than anyone. He turned his attention back to the turtle, who said, "Guy-sensei will take care of your punishment." An explosion of smoke erupted on the turtle's back, and when it cleared, an adult version of Rock Lee was seen standing in a ridiculous pose. "Geez, you guys are the epitome of the springtime of youth." To say Team 7 was freaked out was an understatement. They were shell-shocked at his appearance. Even Naruto was looking a bit alarmed, with Kurama screaming in his mind to make it stop. If Lee were just a few years older, no one would be able to tell the difference between him and Guy. "Lee, you fool." Guy shouted at him, punching him in the jaw so hard that Lee flew back. Lee quickly recovered, though. Guy then proclaimed, for breaking the rule and fighting before the exam, you must complete 500 laps around Konoha before sundown. The whole of Team 7 gaped at the absurdity of the challenge, believing it to be nothing more than a joke. However, they were further shocked into disbelief at Lee's reply. Hi Guy-sensei. Lee's eyes were burning at the challenge. Probably at how much youthful it was, Naruto mused. Naruto decided to intervene before even more weirdness took place. Excuse me, but don't you think that you should focus on the Chunin exams right now? Guy-sensei turned to them for the first time, looking a bit sheepish. Oh, my bad. Turning to Lee, he coughed in his hand and said, Lee, you will fulfill your punishment after the Chunin exams, got it? Lee stood at attention. Hi, Guy-sensei. Guy then turned to the other team. Ah, so you guys are from Kakashi's team. Sasuke rose an eyebrow condescendingly. You know Kakashi. Guy chuckled as he rubbed his chin. Kakashi and I are eternal rivals. I am leading currently, with my 50 wins to Kakashi's 49. The whole Team 7 sweat dropped at that. Lee jumped in. Isn't Guy-sensei the greatest? Sasuke was studying Guy intensely, looking at the empty space. Wait, what? He and Sakura suddenly turned around to face Guy, who had gotten behind them so fast that not even a blur was visible. But Naruto showed no signs of surprise, having followed him with his eyes. Guy had only used low Jonin level speed right now. He knew that Guy had barely put effort in getting that fast to get behind them. While he could do it as well if he took his seals off for now, he would be destroyed in a contest of speed if Guy went full speed. There was only so much speed his 12-year body could go at before reaching a limit. Sasuke was looking at Guy with wide eyes along with Sakura. This guy, he's definitely faster than Kakashi. He thought with a grimace. Rage filled him once more. Damn it. How many people are there that I have to surpass to become capable of defeating him? Anyways, you guys should head to the room. Your exam is to begin soon. Good luck. Turning to Lee, he flashed a grin and a thumbs up. Do your best, Lee. Bask in the springtime of youth. He disappeared after that. Lee began to wrap his bandages up, but just before he left, he turned to Sasuke. Sasuke-kun, I apologize for lying before. I am not the strongest Konoha genin, it is my teammate. I entered this exam to defeat him, and you are one of my targets as well. Please prepare yourself, and I wish you all the best. After Lee finally walked away, Naruto carefully observed Sasuke. His fists were clenched tight, along with gritted teeth and a look of frustration and rage on his face. Naruto clenched his own fists and raged in his mind. Who does he think he is? Why does he keep thinking that he is the only one who is strong and the rest are weak? He kept his face carefully neutral as he faced Sasuke. What's wrong, Sasuke? He was careful to keep his voice level. He didn't even flinch when Sasuke faced him, a look of barely contained rage on his face. Shut up. I'll slaughter him next time. He promised. Naruto only rose an eyebrow. We are in the middle of an exam, which means there is little time. Sorry, no time for you to get better than him. Maybe after the exams, but not now. And why were you so angry and frustrated before? Is it so hard to accept that there are people of our age who are stronger and faster than you? Sasuke opened his mouth to tell Naruto to mind his own business, but nothing came out. He realized with a growl that what Naruto had said was true. He was brought up with the teachings from his father that the Uchiha are the greatest, and he learned it all with pride. So it was hard for his pride to accept that there is someone who is stronger, faster than him. Ever since the massacre, he had trained his hardest every day, trying to bridge the power gap between him and him, just so he could have his revenge. He thought that he had at least become stronger than his peers, only to find out how thoroughly outclassed he was among those of his own age. Naruto shook his head. One day, Sasuke's superiority complex is gonna blow up in his face. Sasuke was too proud of himself, believing his power was better than others and no one could match him. But pride always had its downfall, and it didn't look like Sasuke's gonna learn that lesson anytime soon. Anyway, we should get going. We don't want to be late for the exam, Naruto said as he took the lead, with Sakura following him after giving a concerned glance to Sasuke, who followed the last. They reached the room, only to see Kakashi leaning against the wall with his head buried in his porn. Kakashi looked at them and closed his book, putting his hands in his pockets. He gave them a critical look. Sakura decided to come as well. I see. Naruto frowned at his statement. What do you mean by that? His voice held a hard edge now, warning Kakashi that he better not play with the answers right now. Kakashi, for his part, didn't take offense at Naruto's tone at all. Instead, he mentally approved of how Naruto spoke. It was clear that he was in the zone, ready to tackle a challenge. He had taken on a mindset of a serious shinobi now, mentally prepared for the challenges to come. He was also surprised at the lack of uncertainty in Sakura, which he had seen on the day he had given out the Chunin forms. Something had happened in between, but whatever it was, he was glad for it. A mild feeling of disappointment went through him when he saw Sasuke's state. There were light bruises on his face, and he looked like someone had just trampled on his ego. He mentally shook his head. Sasuke was too impulsive when it came to his pride and ego. He could never take any defeat in stride. For all his skills, Sasuke's mix of having both a superiority and an inferiority complex made him, in Kakashi's words, a sore loser. He shook these thoughts off and focused on answering Naruto. You are now, officially, registered to take the exams. To tell you the truth, Chunin exams can only be taken in teams of 3. So you lied that it is up to us whether we want to take part in it or not, Naruto stated, eyes narrowing. Kakashi nodded seriously, I did. I feared that if I hadn't, you two would have forced Sakura to take the exams with you. And if only they both had come here and not you, Sakura, I would have turned them away. He smiled, but I'm glad that you three came of your own free will, and as a team. Sakura, unnoticed by Kakashi, gave a small glance to Naruto and smiled, it's all thanks to you, Naruto. You washed away my uncertainty. Kakashi moved out of their way, go on in, then. Do your best. They opened the door, and were surprised to see the number of genin taking the Chunin exams. And all of them were looking at them. Naruto put on his game face, which was a neutral scowl. He was internally scoffing at the pathetic amount of killing intent coming their way. He looked back to see that Sasuke was unaffected as well. Sakura too, if not for the slight bead of sweat on the side of her face. He turned back, absently wondering if he would see any of his peers. Sasuke-kun. Naruto flinched, and then sighed. Kami, he hated that voice. He turned around just in time to see a blonde missile, Ino hug Sasuke tightly from behind. It's been so long since I have seen you, Sasuke-kun. I miss your dark looks, you know. Sakura spoke in a surprisingly normal tone, but serious nonetheless, let Sasuke-kun go, Ino pig. Ino glanced at Sakura, mocking her, I am surprised they let you compete, forehead. Sakura gained a tick mark, her voice getting a bit higher, you leave my forehead out of this. Ino just stuck her tongue out at Sakura. Naruto just rolled his eyes at the immature display. Oh? You guys are competing in this stupid test too. Shikamaru's voice came as he approached with Choji. Naruto smirked and lightly commented, I didn't think you had the energy to take this exam, Shika. The said boy sighed, it's troublesome, but Ino threatened us with our lives, so we had to. Finally found you guys. Naruto saw that it was Kiba's voice, who was coming with teammate in tow. Hinata blushed at the sight of Naruto. Well, it looks like all the rookies are assembled. Shikamaru sighed, geez, you guys too. Kiba hummed, I wonder how far we will get, now that all of us are assembled. Sasuke. Sasuke smirked in return, you seem quite confident, Kiba. Kiba boasted, we trained a lot. We won't be losing to you. You guys should be quieter, you know, came a new voice from behind them. They all turned to see a bespectacled teenager with gray hair and a ponytail. He looked almost 17, and was wearing a Konoha Hitei. You guys are rookies just out of the academy, right? You shouldn't be fooling around like that, he said. Ino took offense to that, who the hell are you to tell us that? I'm Yakashi Kabuto. And just take a look around you, he gently said, not seeming to mind her tone at all. All the rookies, except for Naruto and Sasuke, tensed up after looking around. They were the focal point of all the attention, and it wasn't the good kind. The team behind you is from Omegakure no Sado. They have short tempers, he explained. Naruto decided that he had enough of people trying to intimidate him and his team, so he turned the tables. He didn't exude any killing intent, but simply glared with his eyes. He was very much satisfied to see many of them flinch, and why shouldn't they? He had his father's eyes, and his father sent his enemies running in the opposite direction with just a look. These genin stood no chance. Kabuto-san, was it? Sakura's voice caused him to turn. Yes. Is this your second time taking these exams? No, actually it is my 7th, Kabuto admitted, sheepishly rubbing the back of his head. Wow, you must really suck then. Kiba's brashness surprised no one. Kabuto shrugged, conceding the point, or maybe the exams are just that hard. To help out, I thought I'd share some info on the other participants with my fellow Konoha nin. He withdrew a thick deck of cards from his weapons pouch. Who do you want to know about? Give me information on Sabaku no Gaara, Rock Lee and Uzumaki Naruto, Sasuke commanded, desperate for some information on his teammate and the others. The rookies gave him weird looks, but Naruto glared at Sasuke, who glared back. Finally, I get to see just how powerful you really are, Naruto. Kabuto smirked. You already know their names, which makes it less fun. Looking at his cards he began reading. Sabaku no Gaara, his team has completed 8 C rank and WoW, a B rank. It says he's come back from each of them without a scratch. A genin doing a B rank is highly unusual, but coming back from one without any injury is just unheard of. This caused all of them to tense up, even Naruto. Next is Rock Lee, Konoha genin with a tremendous skill in Taijutsu. His skills in ninjutsu and jinjutsu are nil. He is a member of Team 9 led by Mato Gai as his sensei. His teammates are Hyuga Niji and Higurashi Tenten. He has completed 42 D ranks and 37 C ranks. He has been a genin for a year more than you guys. Next is Uzumaki Naruto, he said, pulling another card. Though he blinked in surprise when it suddenly disappeared from his hands. Looking up, he saw Naruto holding the card between 2 fingers. Sasuke growled and went to snatch the card from him, but Naruto playfully put it out of reach, though there was a dangerous glint in his eyes. Sorry Sasuke, Kabuto-san, but I don't like my cards to be displayed until the end of the game. He clapped the card between his hands and when he separated them, only small pieces of the card fell out. His eyes then narrowed as he looked at Kabuto. You really shouldn't give out information like that, Kabuto-san. It may come to bite you back one day. On the inside, he was trying to figure Kabuto out. Just who is this guy? Getting information on Lee wouldn't be so hard, but how did he acquire the mission stats of a foreign nin, who is also a Jinchuriki, when they can only be accessed by the Kazekage and his council? It's obvious that he knows way too much to be a genin. And why am I getting the feeling of snakes from this guy? I have to inform Gigi of this somehow. That type of information opens up the possibility that he is a spy. Kabuto held his hands up in surrender. I meant no harm Naruto-kun. I just like to gather information is all. Naruto didn't look convinced but gave it a rest. Kabuto thought, guess I won't be making his job any harder. His master would be so disappointed. Naruto's senses spiked and he caught a movement in the corner of his eyes. He saw a ninja with a headband having a musical note flying through the air, throwing 2 kunai into the floor in front of Kabuto, who jumped back just in time for another one with the same headband, but had his head covered in bandages, to appear in front of him and taking a swing at Kabuto. Kabuto dodged, smirking, but his glasses suddenly shattered and he collapsed onto his knees, throwing up. 3 nin, 2 boys and 1 girl, stood in front of Kabuto, radiating killing intent. Pathetic. The bandaged one scoffed. Aren't you supposed to be a 4-year-old veteran? Meanwhile, Naruto was trying to figure out what just happened. If nothing hit Kabuto, why did his glasses shatter and why the hell did he throw up? Was it pressurized air? Kurama scowled and spoke from within. Think Naruto. What is the symbol on his Hitei? Naruto frowned. It's a musical note. Kurama prompted him further. Music is a form of sound, and how does sound travel? Naruto replied, through the medium of air. Oh, he smirked. He manipulated the sound waves to target the ear and throw off his balance. He shook his head. Foolish guy. He just gave away his main attack. Naruto turned to see the spiky-haired ninja talking. Write this down on your cards. 3 Atagakure ninjas, definite future chunin. An explosion of smoke went down in front of the class and a voice was heard. When the smoke cleared, there was a large man wearing a black trench coat, black fingerless gloves and a bandana was standing. His intimidating stature and harsh tone that followed ensured that his words were heeded quickly. That is Morino Ibiki, if I'm not wrong. Konoha's top interrogator alongside Yamanaka Inoichi and Anko-sensei superior Naruto speculated. All right you maggots. Shut the hell up and sit down in your assigned seats. The first part of the exam will begin now. Any fighting will lead straight to disqualification. Pointing to the Atagakure ninjas, he said, you better stop doing that if you don't want to fail before even the exam starts. He watched as everyone went to their assigned seats. Once everyone was settled, he began explaining the exam. This is an exam in which you start off with 10 points. There are 2 rules to this exam. The first rule, this is a team test. Whether you pass or not will be determined by the combined score of your teammates. Second rule, anyone caught doing any sneaky activities, namely cheating, he smiled in a sinister way that sent shivers down many people's spines, will have 2 points taken off for every offense. You have 45 minutes. Begin. The sound of papers turning sounded for a brief moment. Naruto first inspected where his teammates were seated. To his disappointment, they were seated quite far. Turning his eyes on the test, he raised an eyebrow in disbelief. What type of questions are these? They are no genin level, that's for sure. Which means they want the genin to cheat. This exam is testing or information gathering. He gave an impressed smirk at that, but then frowned. I may have photographic memory, but it defeats the whole purpose of this test if I write what I know. What to do now? He scanned the room, looking for someone who was confidently filling out the answers at a high speed. He smirked when he saw one sitting in the column to his left, 2 rows above him. Got him. Now I just have to figure out how to learn his answers, or maybe, I can just switch our tests. He pondered for over 2 minutes on what to do, watching his peers cheat. Sasuke was copying answers with his Sharingan, Sakura was writing on her own since she knew the answers, Tenten had cleverly altered the ceiling flap to reflect someone's answers. Hinata was using her Byakugan, Shino was using his buds to cheat, Kiba had a Kamaru on top of his head, barking his answers to him. Shikamaru did not need to cheat, as he was already smart enough. Got it. First, he would have to scope out the field. He spent the next 5 minutes watching the invigilators walk, trying to find a pattern. Finally, he found a loophole. There were 4 columns of students, with all the columns separated. The first invigilator between the first 2 columns walked with the invigilator between the last 2. Ibiki walked in the center of the second and third columns, but he always moved opposite to the other 2 invigilators. So, there was a point where all 3 of them were in a row and then they went in the opposite direction of each other. There was a 3-second interval during which none of them were facing him. After that interval, the 3 of them would face the class from the respective ends. Which means, he had 3 seconds to make his plan work. Second, know the number of the desk from which he was going to cheat. The test paper didn't have a space to write their names, but a space where they had to write their desk number. So, he deduced that teams will be identified from the number of the desk they were sitting on. Every team had been given specific seats according to the seating plan next to the board. So when Ibiki comes across the papers from the desk numbers 8, 21 and 27, he would know he was looking at the papers of Team 7 according to the seating plan. Now that he knew what he needed to know, it was time to act. Counting from now, he discreetly pulled out 2 smoke bombs during the first interval under the pretense of scratching his back. Maybe it was a bit overkill, but he needed to remain unseen. He waited till the guy was finished writing. 5th interval was when shit hit the fan. As soon as the back of the invigilators were turned to him, he wasted no time and threw the smoke bombs onto the floor, one on the right and one on the left. Roars of anger and panic could be heard throughout the classroom as no one could see their tests. Windows were opened to let the smoke out and once it was cleared, several of them looked confused as nothing had happened to their tests. Naruto, however, was calmly pretending to keep writing on the sheet on which answers were already filled out. The guy whose sheet he stole had a panicked look on his face when he saw that the sheet in front of him had all the wrong answers written down. There was even a mocking note that said better luck next time. The worst thing was that the sheet in front of him had his desk number written on it. There wasn't enough time to erase and write the correct answers all over again. Yet, Naruto was not above such petty things from time to time. Naruto calmly erased the desk number on the sheet he stole and wrote his own down. What had happened was when the smoke spread, Naruto had quickly created a shadow clone that had instantly transformed into a finger-sized version of himself. The clone had taken a hold of his sheet and substituted with the sheet of the guy Naruto had decided to cheat from. By the time smoke cleared, Naruto had already finished his job. Ibiki was slightly irritated at the ruckus caused. He held his hand up for silence. Anyone who has lost their sheet might as well get out with your team. Surprisingly, none of them moved to get up. Ibiki deduced that whoever had done that was only looking out for himself. Though I'm interested in learning just who exactly did that, he thought as his eyes swept around the room. His eyes looked at Naruto, who was simply leaned back in his chair, eyes up at the ceiling and an uncaring look on his face. His eyes narrowed the tiniest bit in suspicion. Naruto was well known for his successful pranks all around the village. Uzumaki Naruto, he doesn't look bothered in the least. He could be the one. His face etched back into his neutral expression. Then again, he hasn't looked the least bit bothered since the beginning of this test. And just like that, he lifted his suspicion off Naruto, continuing to watch the class closely. Uzumaki Pranking Code of Conduct, Rule 2, in the aftermath of a prank, throw suspicion off yourself in any way possible. At the end of 45 minutes, Ibiki looked at the clock on the wall and nodded to himself. He turned his head to the open door, through which Kakuro, who had gone through the bathroom, entered. Was your doll playing any beneficial? He asked, smirking. The puppet user flinched, surprised he had been caught. Go sit down, he ordered Kankuro. After he was seated, Ibiki started emitting a sadistic aura. Time up. You now have a choice presented to you, to either take the 10th question, or not to take it, he stated, much to the confusion of the genin. Choose. A familiar voice shouted from the back. Naruto turned to see Temari, whose eyes displayed confused anger. What happens if we choose not to? At that point, Naruto simply stopped caring what Ibiki said. He just kept watching Temari, a small, dreamy smile on his face. Temari caught his gaze and blushed, averting her face and trying to quell the growing blush. Why is he staring at me like that? Ibiki chuckled darkly. If you choose not to, your points will be reduced to 0. You will be failed along with your teammate. Everyone started to shout in protest, but a sudden bout of killing intent from Ibiki silenced them. Also, if you choose to take it and answer incorrectly, you will lose the right to ever participate in the future Chunin exams. Kiba hollered in anger. What kind of a rule is that? Genin from before were still able to retake the Chunin exams, so why is this exam any different? Ibiki released another dark chuckle, the one gave out when he was being extremely sadistic. The other genin didn't have me as the proctor. My test, my rules. Choose, I haven't got all day. Naruto observed that Ibiki had all the genin quivering now. He waited until several teams had quit to make his move. Lesser the competition, the better their chances, after all. Giving a wink to Temari, whose blush darkened to cover her entire face, he turned around and stood up, all the playfulness from earlier when he was flirting with Temari vanishing from his face. Ibiki stared at the blonde, along with all the others, whose face was set in dead seriousness. His eyelids were half drooped, but he still looked entirely serious. I don't care what happens at all. I have a dream of becoming the Hokage that no one can stop me from achieving. I'll do it even if I have to stay a genin to do so. Do your worst, but know this, he pointed a finger at Ibiki without any fear, rank means nothing to me, at all. Everyone was watching Naruto with disbelief, who never once broke eye contact with Ibiki. Ibiki himself was thrown off by the sheer conviction displayed in the voice and eyes of a 12-year-old. Sakura was in awe of Naruto's declaration. Sasuke gave a sigh of relief, for he thought Naruto was going to quit. Each of the rookies, except for one or two, held a newfound respect for Naruto. The whole room was silent, and everyone that remained had caught every word. And the results were staggering. Ibiki smirked. He's interesting. He wiped out everyone's uncertainty. Looking around the room, he counted how many were remaining. 57, There are more left than I expected. There's no point in waiting anymore. Congratulations, you all pass. Ibiki declared, and hid to fight the smile that threatened to appear on his face at the bafflement of as well as the disbelief of the genin. But what about the 10th question? A genin from Ame demanded to know. That was the 10th question. It was a question to test your will and fortitude. As a Chunin, you will be forced to take tough decisions, and no one needs weak-willed Chunin leading their forces to their deaths. By asking this question, you've shown me your determination and willingness to do the best for your villages, even with handicaps, he explained. Temari spoke once again, so the other questions were for nothing. And once again, she blushed when Naruto turned to stare at her with a smile. No, the test was for info gathering, and to see how much balls you all had, he answered, looking in the direction of Naruto, who turned back and gave a graceful shrug. This marks the end of the first phase of the Chunin selection exams. I wish you luck for the next phase, Ibiki smiled, which was surprisingly pleasant and not all that disturbing. Before he could say anything else, he caught something from the corner of his eyes and stepped back just in time for a ball of cloth to come crashing through the window. 2 kune flew out of the cloth and stuck to the ceiling, unfurling the cloth, revealing a very familiar purple-haired woman wearing a brown trench coat. On the cloth it was written, Second Exam Proctor Mitarashi Anko. You guys. This is no time to be happy. She exclaimed. I am the proctor for the second test, Mitarashi Anko. The real exam starts now. Are you ready? She shouted and pumped her fist into the air. Ibiki came from behind the cloth. Grasp the atmosphere, will you? Anko blushed at his deadpan. Naruto simply sat down and crossed his arms, fondly smiling at her. It had been a while since he saw his sensei, and to be honest, he missed her eccentricities. Anko counted the number of genin left and raised an eyebrow. 57? Ibiki, you let 19 team pass? You let them off too easy. She scoffed. Ibiki shrugged. This time, we have quite an interesting bunch. Anko scoffed and was about to snark back when a familiar mop of blonde hair caught her eye. She smiled proudly when she saw Naruto sitting in the room, fondly smiling at her. As soon as she made eye contact, that smile turned into a smirk and he winked at her. Anko grinned savagely, now that she knew that her best and only student was in the exams. You may be right, Ibiki, she said. However, I'll cut those numbers in half in the second test. That, coupled with her savage grin, was enough to make everyone sweat a little. Naruto just shook his head. His sensei was as intimidating as ever. I will explain the details tomorrow. We will go to another place, so ask your Jonin sensei about where to go and the time. That is all. Dismissed. Everyone stood up to leave, while Anko just smirked and walked in the direction of her former student. Naruto stood up as well, standing just 4 inches short of Anko's height. He waved his teammates away, who were looking curiously, telling them he will catch up later. What's up, brat? I didn't know that you were going to be in this exam. Naruto shrugged, putting his hands in his pockets. Even we didn't know until only a week ago, Anko-sensei. Ibiki raised an eyebrow, coming to stand with them. Sensei? So this is the brat Hokage-sama assigned to you. Naruto smiled, his whites showing. Uzumaki Naruto, pleased to meet you. Anko-sensei talked about you occasionally, Ibiki-san. You really did frighten all the genin to death. Ibiki smirked while Anko scoffed. If he really had, there wouldn't be 19 teams left. Ibiki jerked a thumb towards Naruto. You should thank him for that. Brat gave a speech that wiped all the fear I put into them. Anko puffed up proudly, never minding Ibiki's failure. Of course he did. He is my student after all. He was born to be a leader. Naruto smiled, but turned serious, though I do have a concern to raise. His serious tone was enough to catch their attention. What is it, Naruto? Anko asked with a frown. Naruto said, it about a genin named Yakushi Kabuto. He seemed to have some sort of information cards that had info, mainly the mission stats and their strengths and weaknesses, on all the genin present. I can believe it if he only had info on the genin of Konoha, but he also had it on the Sunanin, Gaara. Something that should only be known by the Kazekage and his council. He explained all his observations and conclusions to them. Ibiki and Anko paid serious attention to this, and by the end of his explanation, both were frowning heavily. This is not good, Anko commented. Ibiki nodded, a hard look on his face. If what you say is true, we might have a spy in our midst. And having information like that means he has likely been a spy for years. Who knows what kind of information he has now? Naruto frowned. Even I'm not that sure. As I said, my own observations led me to this conclusion. Regardless of whether he is a spy or not, such matters have to be investigated for that sort of possibility, don't they? Anko nodded. That is true. This matter will be taken to the Hokage immediately, by Ibiki. Ibiki turned on Anko, an incredulous look on his face. You can't order your superior, you know that, right? Anko shrugged, putting an arm around Naruto's shoulders, not caring in the least that his face was right next to her. Assets. I know, but in the light that my student is in the Chunin exams, it is his duty to treat me to Dango. Let's go, brat. She started walking, not letting go of Naruto, who was struggling to get out of her embrace. Ibiki smiled and shook his head, muttering, just this time, I'll let this go. Chapter 14. Author's note, wow, so many reviews. I'm positively thrilled. I admit, I really enjoyed the last chapter. Especially the part when I tore into Sakura. Second exam is about begin, which means that Naruto's reveal is coming close. Let's move on to the chapter. P.S. A treat for you guys in this chapter. Enjoy. As Naruto stared at the number of dango sticks in front of him, he couldn't help but feel a sense of nostalgia. Back when he was still being trained by Anko-sensei, he had noticed her obsession, more like an addiction, to dango. She was never seen by him without dango, or a dango stick dangling between her teeth. Whenever she was in a good mood, she would always treat him to dango. It was always a very touching gesture for him, so he didn't have the heart to tell her that he preferred Ichiraku ramen. They had been on the dango stand for over 2 hours now, and Naruto had told her everything that had happened to him ever since he became a student of Kakashi. He was careful to leave sensitive parts out, such as the massacre on the bridge or that he knew the famous jutsu of the yondaime. Anko whistled when he was finished. Wow, you sure haven't been bored after you became a team member, have you? Naruto shrugged. Not if you count doing D-rank missions as exciting. I'll pick a C rank or training over them any day. He ruthlessly pushed away the memories of repeatedly catching Tora. He would try his utmost to become a Chunin, if only to escape from doing that mission again. Anko hummed, not saying anything else. She avoided any topic that was related to Orochimaru. Naruto took a deep breath and exhaled, slowly getting up. Well, it was nice catching up with you, sensei, but I gotta rest for tomorrow. I would want to be fully rested for the exam of which you are the proctor of, he said, tweaking between his teeth with the dongo stick. Anko also got up, grinning savagely. Damn straight. I better not see you losing in this phase. You got that, Naruto. Naruto smiled wide and gave a thumbs up, loud and clear. Anko turned to leave, but seemed to remember something and turned around. Oh, almost forgot to tell you. Come to the training ground 44 tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Naruto tilted his head. Wouldn't this be considered cheating on my part to receive information from the proctor, sensei? Anko smiled and shook her head. This is the information your team sensei would be telling you. I'm just saving you the trouble of finding your team or Kakashi. All the best, kid. She vanished in a swirl of leaves. Naruto nodded to himself and turned around, heading towards Ichiraku. He felt quite good today in the exam, so celebration was required. Dongo was good and all, but it wasn't dinner. Inside his mind, Kurama scoffed, muttering about pathetic excuses to eat unhealthy food. As Naruto neared the ramen stand, he saw something that caused his heart to skip a beat. Temari was roaming on the street, apparently taking in the sights. The best fact was that she was on her own. None of her brothers were with her, not even Gaara. He didn't know why, but suddenly his palms started to feel sweaty and his heartbeat seemed to increase. This was his perfect chance of spending some time with her. Go for it, brat, came Kurama's encouraging voice. Wow, he and him were on the same page. His steps automatically began to take him in her direction. Every step felt like he was going too slow, but at the same time, he was going too fast. He had no idea on how to approach her or what to say, but at the same time he wanted her to spend time with him, to enjoy spending time with him. Oi, Naruto. You will not stutter in front of a mere girl. You are my Jinchuriki and you won't embarrass me. Naruto wanted to tell him that she didn't even know that he was a Jinchuriki. And how the hell did that fact relate to what he was about to do? He barely kept himself from voicing his thoughts to the fox inside him, forgetting that Kurama could easily read his thoughts. Kurama scoffed and refrained from speaking. He will see how Naruto handles this without making himself look like a fool. It happened too quickly, but he was standing behind her. She seemed to be unaware that he was standing directly behind her. Stealing up and swallowing up his nervousness, he tapped her shoulder. Temari finally relaxed after exiting the hotel where she and her brothers were staying. She had known that after their training, she was going to get bored because she had nothing to do. After almost half an hour of arguing, she was able to convince Kankuro to let her leave the hotel. Gaara really didn't care much about what she did and that was one thing she was grateful for. Baki didn't protest much when she told him that she would be able to scout the important locations in this village. So here she was, wandering the streets and taking in the sights. She had to admit, Konoha was beautiful. All the greenery in the village made it seem like the village actually pulsed with life. The weather here was very pleasant as well, though that could be attributed to the greenery. As she aimlessly wandered, her thoughts turned to the attractive blonde from before. Uzumaki Naruto, she tested the word on her lips, her mouth unconsciously turning into a smile. He was certainly attractive, more so than any boy she had seen of her age. He was also quite fearless and charismatic as well, if what he did when the 10th question was asked is anything to go by. That certainly earned him points in her book. She didn't know if he realized it or not, but he had erased all traces of doubts the intimidating examiner had put into them, including her. Something inside her told her that he knew. Her hormones seemed to make their presence known, as she turned began to imagine what he looked like without his shirt and jacket on. Her cheeks burned as she realized what she was thinking and rapidly shook her head to clear it of any more thoughts like those. Why am I thinking such things? I don't even know him. Then her thoughts did a complete 180 once more. Although, I wouldn't mind to get to know him through a date or two. She flushed again, though this time she had a smile and didn't try to shake it off. So lost in her thoughts she was, that she startled a bit when her shoulder was tapped. Mentally cursing herself for getting caught off guard, she turned to see who had tapped her and got frozen in place when she saw the subject of her thoughts right in front of her. Naruto became a bit confused when Temari turned around and suddenly froze. Guess she wasn't expecting to meet me, he thought before waving a hand in front of her eyes. Temari-san, are you alright? His voice snapped her back into the present. She saw him looking at her, a curious expression on his face. Regaining control of herself, she smiled and greeted back, I'm alright Uzumaki-san. I just wasn't expecting to see you here. She giggled a bit at the sour look that he made, please don't call me that. Naruto will do just fine. She returned an easy smile, then you must call me Temari. Being called like that by someone of my age make me feel old. Naruto didn't know how he was speaking without thinking, that just won't do now, will it? I wouldn't want to make a pretty lady such as yourself feel old, he returned her easy smile. Temari felt her face go warm at his response. Not wanting to be looking embarrassed, she folded her arms and turned her face away, a smile tugging at her lips. Flatterer, she scoffed softly. Naruto internally grinned. This wasn't hard at all. He didn't have to pretend to be someone he wasn't. He would be thinking up on what to say if he was. The lines and responses just instinctively came to him. Temari changed the topic, so, what are you doing here, Naruto? Naruto put his hands in his jacket pockets, I am actually on my way to have dinner after talking with my sensei. He then asked a bit hesitantly, would you like to join me? Temari barely kept from choking on air, but couldn't prevent her eyes from going wide. What? Naruto then discovered that repeating his question was exponentially harder, but he managed it without stuttering. I said, would you like to join me for dinner? The smile on his face would have seemed natural to anyone if it wasn't for a drop of sweat rolling down the side of his face. Temari forced her stopped mind to kickstart. She could not believe it, just a short while ago she was thinking about going on a date with Naruto. And not even 10 minutes later he was asking her out. She regained her wits and asked, stuttering, are you asking me out on a date? Oh, and her beet red face wasn't helping her at all. She was hoping though, that the answer would be yes. She might get to know him a bit better. Naruto himself felt his face go warm a bit, but he just rolled with it. Shrugging in what he dearly hoped was a natural manner, he said with a smooth smile, if you want it to be, sure. Let's go with that. Temari, saying Naruto relaxed, forced herself to relax as well. Crossing her arms, she smirked, so, where are you taking me Naruto? Naruto smirked in return, you haven't been to the Ichiraku Ramen, have you? 5 minutes later, they were walking in the direction. Naruto was quickly discovering the awkwardness of the silence between them. To make it go away, he picked a topic that both of them could safely converse about without giving away their secrets. So, what's the Shinobi Academy and Suna like? And so, the silence was broken and conversation picked off from there. Temari was glad to find out how easy it was to converse with Naruto. His seemingly bored and different attitude, in her eyes, was perfectly suited to him. His tone was very friendly and to her pleasant surprise, she found herself enjoying just talking to him. And we have arrived, Naruto announced. Temari looked up to see a small, unassuming ramen shop. It was more of a bar than a shop. Quite simplistic, this place is, she commented. Naruto smirked and turned to her, don't knock it until you've tried it. Yo, Tuchi-san. A middle-aged man turned around, smiling when he saw his favorite customer. Naruto. Temari guessed that Naruto had to be very familiar with him to call him that. The man named Tuchi then spotted Temari standing beside Naruto and his smile widened. Oh, and who is this lady friend of yours? A girlfriend on a date. Tuchi suppressed his chuckles as both the children turned red, the girl more than Naruto. Naruto opened his mouth to speak when Aang came out of the back, wiping her hands. Naruto-kun. Who are you? And who is this girl beside you? She asked a bit bewildered. Naruto smiled, his blush slowly disappearing. This is Sabaku no Temari. She is a genin from Suna, here to take part in the Chunin exams. As to answer your question, Asen, she's not my girlfriend, but we are definitely on a date, he said the last part while turning to Temari and winking, making the sandy blonde redder than she already was and cursed Naruto in her head for being so charming. Tuchi finally let out his chuckles while Aang happily sighed. Tuchi asked Naruto, and you brought your first date to my stand? I'm really honored, Naruto. Naruto shook his head as he motioned for Temari to take a seat. He sat beside her and grinned, why wouldn't I? Your ramen's awesome. Turning to Temari, he smiled, what will you have, Temari? Temari frowned a bit and thought, then answered after a moment, "I'll have a shio ramen, please." Naruto turned and simply said, "I'll have my usual, asen." While the ramen was being prepared, he discreetly checked Temari out of the corner of his eye. Her posture was full of confidence, and from what he could see, there wasn't a single speck of a fangirl in her. She was indeed a serious kunoichi. Glancing at her legs, he noted with appreciation the toned, smooth calf muscles underneath the fishnet. His gaze then snapped upwards to a place that occupies the minds of all teenage boys. Her chest was actually quite developed for her age. If only her top were a bit lower. Temari was steadily turning redder and redder as she spotted Naruto checking her out. She did not miss the appreciation in his eyes as he checked out her legs and chest. Her embarrassment finally toppled off the edge and she turned to him with a red face and furious eyes. "What are you doing?" She expected him to blush and splutter and fruitlessly try to excuse himself. To her surprise, he did not even blush a little bit. Instead, he smirked and returned a question of his own. "What do you think I'm doing?" Their orders arrived, and as Naruto broke his chopsticks, he answered his own question. "I'm checking you out. In both the ways." Temari's embarrassment turned to confusion at his blunt answer. Taking a bite of her own ramen, she barely refrained from gasping in pleasure. It was delicious. As if the food was from heaven itself. Suna had nothing as tasty as this. She heard a chuckle and she opened her eyes to find Naruto staring at her with amusement. Turning a bit red, she scowled and asked, "What's so funny?" His reply was quick, the reaction of everyone who tries the ramen of this stall for the very first time. He chuckled as she swiped at his arm for embarrassing her. She then addressed his previous statement. "What did you mean when you were checking me out in both the ways?" Naruto sneaked a glance in front of him and sighed exasperatedly at seeing Ayame and Tucci trying to eavesdrop not so subtly. He loudly cleared his throat, causing the two to turn away and return to their work, whistling innocently. He then turned to Temari, who had a faint look of amusement on her face. "Well, the first point of view is that of a shinobi. You are my competitor, which makes it my duty as a shinobi to gather as much information I can about you," he explained, getting a smirk from her. "Oh, and what have you learned?" Naruto gulped down the last of his ramen and said, "Well, the only thing that I have come up with is that you have wind release, indicated by the large fan on your back, which you likely use to augment your jutsus. The size of your fan is also an indicator of your preferred type of jutsus. You like to use Fuuten on a large scale to overwhelm your opponents." He then thought for a bit and added, "The size of your fan is an indicator of another thing. That thing is not easy to carry by any means, so your body has to be physically very strong. Especially your upper body, considering the strength required to swing it at a force to generate torrents of wind." Temari was getting bowled over at how spot on his observation was. She didn't even know it was possible for a complete stranger to learn the full set of anyone's abilities with just one glance. One thing was for sure, Naruto was extremely intelligent and observational. She didn't know anyone of her age who had analytical skills of this caliber. Naruto was turning out to be a very dangerous opponent, now that she thought about it. Finishing his soup, he smacked his lips and turned to face her, the smile never leaving his face. "Of course, to everyone it's blatantly obvious that you prefer using your fan than Tai or Jinjutsu. But you must have a good grasp of Taijutsu, if not Jinjutsu, considering the fact that children of cages have a certain standard to live up to. I'm totally guessing this, but you really don't seem the type to use Jinjutsu." Temari was at a loss of words. No genin should have analytical skills like the ones Naruto was displaying. Everything he had stated until now was fully true. Something in the last statement caused her to ask a question, but her voice held off. "Wait, you mean everything you've just said was based on pure observation except for the last statement?" Naruto rested his elbow on the counter and smirked, nodding. "Observation and the conclusion that I can derive from those observations. Of course, to derive those conclusions, I have to know my facts so I can suit my theories to them." Temari looked at her empty bowl, muttering so low that Naruto almost didn't catch it. "You're really good at that." Naruto grinned. "I better be. I have been practicing that for a while now." "And what's the second view?" Naruto's tone turned purely innocent. "Oh, you know how boys check out hot girls." That earned him a swipe to his shoulder, but there was no heat behind it and the twitching corners of her mouth gave her away. Paying for both of them, despite Temari's protests, he bid the father and daughter goodnight and they both left. "I have to say, this date wasn't half bad," she smirked while walking alongside him. He was escorting her back to her hotel. She had to admit, it was incredibly cute of him. Naruto nodded, putting his hands in his pockets. "I have to agree on that. For a date in the middle of Chunin exams, it wasn't bad at all. They talked a bit more, and when they finally reached her hotel, Temari turned to Naruto and smiled genuinely. "Thank you for the date, Naruto. It was really fun, not to mention the great food." Much to her surprise, Naruto actually looked embarrassed at the praise. He rubbed the back of his head with a sheepish look. "Ah, you're embarrassing me." Then he smiled back at her. "Seriously though, I too had fun going on a date with you." An awkward silence descended upon them again as neither knew how to properly say goodbye. "Chuck it," Naruto decided. In move that surprised Temari, he leant forwards and pressed a light peck to her cheek, just near the corner of her mouth. "Good night," he muttered before vanishing. He did it so fast that it did not even register to Temari when he left, and how he had left. She just kept staring off into space, a blank look on her face. When she did recover, a massive blush appeared on her face as she smiled and rubbed the corner of her mouth where he had kissed. She wanted to be angry that he had kissed her without her consent, but it was a very sweet gesture, and not to mention, the perfect end to their date. He is bold, that's for sure, she thought before going up to her room, a happy and dreamy smile on her face. She wouldn't mind another date with him. XX. Naruto had, for the first time in a long time, a sleep filled with dreams that were actually pleasant. He and Temari were on a beach, with Temari wearing some really skimpy bikini. He was this close to kissing her when his body alarm rang and woke him up. He rarely ever groaned while waking up, because that dream was close to reaching the best part. Then again, you rarely ever get to see the best part in those type of dreams, he thought wistfully. Getting out of the bed, he proceeded to do his morning rituals and head onto the roof. He needed his mind to be in a state of hyper-focus. He could not afford any distractions today. Creating a shadow clone to restock his equipment and make breakfast, he flipped onto the roof and sat down in a meditative state. For an hour, he proceeded to calm down and focus his mind on a single objective, to succeed. He mentally went through every piece of information he had read and come up with over the years, every tactic, strategy, everything. When he opened his eyes, all the grogginess was gone, replaced by intense focus and determination. He proceeded to review the memories that suddenly came from his dispelled clone. He noted satisfactorily how both of his hip pouches and thigh holster were stocked. Both pouches were stocked with ample kunai, shuriken, explosive tags, both the normal and tandem explosive tags, flash tags, ninja wire, soldier pills and sealing scrolls, both storage and blank. Tying his spiky hair back neatly, he finished dressing up and sat down for breakfast his clone had prepared for him. He swiftly finished his breakfast and washed his plate. Looking up at the clock, he saw that he had half an hour to the exam. Time to leave, he decided. After closing the door to his apartment, he activated the security seals and left. He walked at a comfortable pace to the training ground 44. Upon arriving, he saw that the genin were still assembling. Naruto. The call made him turn, spotting his two teammates coming. Sasuke and Sakura looked determined more than ever. He waved back. 10 minutes after they had all assembled, a burst of smoke in front of the crowd revealed Anko in all her glory. "Look sharp, greenies. Welcome to Training Ground 44, otherwise known as the Forest of Death," she introduced with a sinister flair mixed with dramatics. She had her trademark, bloodthirsty showing, making some of them sweat and the rest feel anxious. For the second part of the exam, the objective is to retrieve and protect. But first, you all are going to sign these papers if you want to take part in this portion of the exam, she said, waving a bunch of papers in her hand. As they were handed the papers, Naruto raised an eyebrow at the large letters form of consent printed on top. He quickly read it and signed it, just in time to heed a genin across the group call out. "What do we need to sign these for? We obviously have to take the exams." Anko easily dismissed the statement and explained with a breezy smile, "Oh, that's your agreement to accept all the risks in the forest, so your respective villages don't blame me and by extension, Konoha for all your deaths, get it?" Next to him, Sakura shivered at the words, but when he looked up she had signed the form and looked forward with a steady gaze. "All right, listen up or you're going to die before even reaching the halfway mark. One member of each team will take the forms to the row of tents over there, where the forms will be exchanged for a scroll. Some will get a heaven, some will get an earth scroll. You need both, and you need to get both of them to the tower in the middle of the forest in order to pass," she explained. Somehow, her tone turned even more serious after that. "Of course, you also need all your teammates to pass upon arrival. You must also not open the scrolls until you get there," she glared at everyone gathered, daring them to disagree with her. Ino raised her hand. What happens if we open them in the forest? Anko smirked. Something unpleasant, for you and your team. Naruto gave his form to Sasuke, who also took Sakura's form and went over to get a scroll for them. As he walked away, Naruto decided to scope out the competition, and nearly choked upon sensing the massive chakra signature some distance away. It was easily as big as his own, perhaps even bigger, not to mention unusually potent. And he almost retched at how much malice it contained. Zabuza did not come even remotely close to what he was sensing now. Gaara, but only perhaps. Discreetly, he gazed in its direction from his peripherals and found out who it was. It was a kunoichi from Kusa, and she was gazing in their direction with a strange look on her face. Naruto immediately averted his eyes and analyzed what he knew. Okay, that was no ordinary chakra signature. No genin can have a chakra pool that large, not to mention it is simply impossible for an average genin to let out such a malicious feeling from their chakra. Her chakra though, we will have to be extremely careful of how we proceed, he thought as Sasuke came back with a heaven scroll. Sakura jolted with realization, this test is designed to cut our numbers in half, only half of us can go to the next round. You're right, Pinky. We can't have weaklings being Chunin, so we gotta weed out. Now that everyone has a scroll, you also have a time limit, 5 days only. If you run out of time, try again next year. Chaoji looked very upset. What will we do for food? The forest is full of food. Giant, juicy bugs and large predators that will eat you first if you don't eat them. Anko absently waved her hand. Poor Chaoji looked ready to cry. Can we quit? Shikamaru asked, wincing as Ino hit the back of his head. Anko scowled. Hell no. You think you can just quit in the middle of a mission? You want to quit, hurry up and die. Line up at the gates and be ready. She shouted, pointing towards the gates surrounding the forest. As Team 7 walked up to the gates, Naruto put his hands around his teammates' necks and pulled them close. Sasuke grunted at the sudden action. Sakura almost shrieked, Naruto. Look, stay quiet, his harsh whisper shut her up. Even Sasuke perked up. Naruto was being unusually serious. Listen, don't look openly but see the Kusa kunoichi. He didn't wait for them to look. First things first, if you see her, run or fly. I don't care what you do, but do whatever you can to get the fuck away from her. There's no way she is a genin. Same goes for the team of Suna. You see that redhead, you. Run. Away, he emphasized, looking directly at Sasuke, a storm blowing in his eyes. Sasuke would have normally disregarded Naruto's words, but the urgency and unusual harshness with which he said caused to have second thoughts. He trusted Naruto's abilities as a censor, so if he was saying something like this so seriously, he would not question it. Naruto saw Sasuke silently nod and turned to Sakura for the same. She looked shaken, but gave a nod as well. As they faced the gates, Naruto turned to look around one last time. He caught Shikamaru's serious look, who turned away and concentrated on his own entrance. He caught Temari's eye, who to his surprise, did not blush, but give him a nod for best of luck. He returned it with one of his own. He saw Anko looking at him with a grin. Holding up a thumbs up, she mouthed all the best. Before she prepared to give the signal. Contestants ready, set, go. She shouted in a giddy voice as all the gates opened simultaneously. All the genin shot in with the intent to win. Team 7 took up a 3-point formation, with Naruto in the front and Sasuke and Sakura in the behind. The two of them acknowledged Naruto's sensing abilities, so this way, Naruto would be the first to sense something. We should really come up with a working plan for the duration of this test, Naruto said as he flipped over a branch. Fine, down there in the clearing, Sasuke ordered, and they descended to the clearing he spoke of, hidden behind a log. Let's make this quick, because the air is quickly becoming saturated with our opponent's smells, Naruto commented, sniffing around with his nose. Sasuke spoke up, my plan is simple, find and ambush a weaker team for their earth scroll and hightail it to the tower. We take breaks sparingly, even at night. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the last point, even at night. Sasuke tilted his head, I was counting on your superior night vision. Naruto acknowledged his point, while that is good and all, we would have to stick to the ground for you two to avoid face planting into a branch. I can also see a weakness to this plan though. While being on the ground gives us room to run, we would be more vulnerable to attacks from those who can use earth jutsu, not to mention other teams who might possibly follow a similar plan, he speculated. Sasuke blinked at how quick Naruto was able to point out the faults in his plan. He was about to suggest something else when Naruto spoke again, but we will follow it, since I can't think of anything better right now. But you are forgetting something, Sasuke. What is it? Naruto smirked. We have a great opportunity to use my shadow clones to their full advantage. I can look for earth scrolls with them, but we would have to find a safe place to wait. Once we get both the scrolls, I can make up the decoys and divide them between me and Sakura, while you take the decoys. Sasuke thought about it for a moment, black eyes flickering to the ground before looking up directly into the blonde's eyes. Sounds good, Uzumaki. But where can we hide? Sakura spoke up for the first time. Sasuke-kun, we can hide high up in the topmost part of the trees. Sasuke rose an eyebrow. How is that a good hiding spot? He was surprised that she did not blush once when he spoke to her. Konoha will be expected to be hidden in the trees, but since we know that as well, our enemies will count on us to be on the ground. They would never guess that we will be hidden right above them. Naruto nodded. It was a good plan for a temporary hideout. Fine, we will do that. I'll make my clones and send them away first. He held a half-ram and without a wisp of smoke, 40 shadow clones appeared, and disappeared to perform their tasks just as quickly. They settled down at the highest level of a tall tree. Naruto spread his senses out, not wanting to be off guard for even a moment. He took out his spare scrolls and sealing supplies and began preparing the decoys. Remember, as they look for the scroll, they will also be gathering info on the teams to see whether they are weak or strong. As soon as their memories come back to me, I'll go through them to single out the best path for us to go through. You're pulling a lot of weight, Sakura said with some concern. Naruto smirked, but stayed silent. As he finished the decoys, a sudden influx of memories caused his eyes to widen in alarm. His teammates looked at him urgently, with apprehension on their faces. Something had spooked him, and they didn't know many things that could spook the strongest member of their team. He whipped around to glare at them, and they almost flinched at the coldness in his eyes. I'll repeat this, Sakura, Sasuke. If you see the Suna team, run away. You see the Kunoichi from Suna, sprint, fly, disappear. I don't care what you do, but avoid confrontation with her at any cost. Is that understood? He glared at them even more coldly, in order to get the seriousness of the statement across. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. Why is she so? Naruto cut him off with a wave of his hand. Face serious, he said, it's just better if you trust me on this one, Sasuke. Now. His expression became neutral once more. I found a team for us to ambush. Remember the team from Ame? They are a mile away from us, northeast. If we hurry, we can catch them before their argument of who gets the fake and real scrolls ends. Sasuke looked at him sharply for switching topics, but didn't push for any more info. He took the lead this time to their target. Just as they stopped behind a large tree, Naruto informed him, the real scroll is with the middle one. Sasuke said, all right. Naruto, do you have a plan? He had accepted the point that it was better if Naruto made the plans between them. Naruto's plans followed utmost discretion in these type of situations, which is what they needed right now. Naruto nodded, soundlessly forming 3 shadow clones. Sasuke, you remember how Kakashi-sensei buried you in the bell test? That is what these 3 will do. In case one of them escapes, you and Sakura will take care of them. Sasuke as well as Sakura gaped at him. That is the best you have. He barely refrained from lashing out because the plan was all kinds of stupid. Naruto smirked in a wave that did nothing to comfort the black-haired Avenger. No, but I'm expecting all of them to escape my hold. The decoys I gave you? They are a bit dangerous, so keep a safe distance after giving them away. We will be eliminating the competition entirely, you see. I'm falling back in case they see you, he said, preparing to jump the tree. Why? Naruto glanced at the pink-haired girl. Every plan should have a backup plan. With that he jumped away. The clones formed 3 hand seals and sunk into the ground. Sasuke and Sakura watched with anticipation on what would happen. They were half surprised when all the 3 evaded capture, but only because Naruto had expected them to. The one on the left called out, you wouldn't know subtlety if it hit you in the face, Blondie. He dispelled the clone, with his teammates doing the same. The clones had actually allowed themselves to be dispelled to appear weak. The truth was they had allowed themselves to be detected. He called out, you really thought we'd fall so easily to such pathetic plans? Come on out and we might let you live. You cannot escape. With an angry scowl, Sasuke jumped down with Sakura by his side, eyes wide and wary. It was all up to Naruto now. Where's the Blondie? The Ame Nin, who Sasuke suspected was the leader, asked roughly. Sasuke answered in a tight tone, he went to find us a hiding spot after leaving us with the clones. He was absolutely sure that the leader was smirking at them behind his breathing apparatus and said in a mocking tone, "All right, kids, hand over your scroll." Sasuke took out the heaven scroll from his pouch and threw it to the leader, who caught it easily. He sounded pleased. "A heaven scroll. Perfect. It will go perfectly with our earth scroll. You two, kill them." The two behind him took out their kunai and advanced. Sakura stuttered fearfully as she took a step back. "But you said." "I said I might let you live, and I decided that I won't. Now hurry up and kill them," he said impatiently. Tally-ho! Came the sound of Naruto's all-too-joyous roar. Sasuke and Sakura immediately jumped back, but the three Ame-nin made the dire mistake of turning in the direction of the voice. The heaven scroll in the leader's hand revealed itself to be a very effective and explosive tag. Sasuke and Sakura, even while being on the ground, were almost blown back a few more feet from the sheer blast. It was a testament to how dangerous the tags Naruto used were. "That went quite well," his voice came through the smoke. Sasuke and Sakura looked up to see Naruto grinning, earth scroll in hand. Sasuke just grunted as he stood up. "I agree." He was a little disoriented from the blast along with Sakura, but they would be all right in a few seconds. "Naruto? Are they?" Sakura asked, really not wanting to know. Naruto nodded. "Of course they are dead. Anyone would be who was standing as close as those three to the tag." He tossed the earth scroll to Sasuke. "Keep it with yourself. I'll make the decoys." As Sasuke and Sakura covered him, Naruto dropped to his knees and took out his sealing supplies. He steadily inked out the seals for the next 2 minutes, adding a seal to make the scrolls look exactly like the real one, along with a few other additions. "All right," Naruto sighed as he packed up his sealing supplies. Handing over the new fakes to Sasuke, who looked confused. Naruto explained, "Change of plans. You are sticking with the fake scrolls, me and Sakura will keep the earth and heaven. Remember, there is an addition to the fake scrolls. The new ones that I gave you now are smokescreens, so be careful not to mix them up." Sasuke nodded and pocketed the scrolls, giving his blonde teammate a nod of thanks. "Okay, same formation as before. This time, we won't be stopping until we reach the tower." They went through the trees again, with Naruto setting a comfortable pace so as to allow the other two to keep up. He could have used Shunshin to get them to the tower faster, but this was a good opportunity to check out any team they come across for the next phase of the exam. It wasn't too long before problems rose. Naruto tensed as he sensed the very familiar, evil chakra heading their way, and fast. And it wasn't alone. "Move people, we have a tail," he ordered as he picked up the pace. Sakura and Sasuke tensed and picked up their pace as well. Naruto motioned for Sasuke to switch positions, as if they were caught up with, Naruto would be able to distract them. Naruto took a glance behind when he flipped over one of the branches. No one was behind them, but Naruto knew that whoever was following them would be catching up with them any time now. Gritting his teeth, he summoned 99 shadow clones, all of which transformed into the replicas of the original Team 7. "Move, damn it move!" he hissed sharply. The clones took off in different directions, each fake team splitting up. "Though I suspect it won't be enough," he grimly thought. He ordered his team, "All right, just for a short while, move like your ass is on fire. Let's go." They kicked into high gear and as far away as possible. He was somewhat relieved when the large signatures got off their backs. Keeping his senses open, he sensed that the signature was far enough that they could take a short break. He signaled his team to stop on a branch. "I know who was following us now," he revealed as he gulped down some much-needed water along with the others. When the other two looked at him, he said, "One of them was a giant snake that only seemed interested in making me its meal. The other is the bitch from Kyusa that I warned you about. She has wiped out 10 of the 33 team, and she is mad. Bottom line, we need to reach the tower fast. So hold on." When the two gave him questioning looks, he sighed impatiently and said, "I'll use the body flicker to move us. Now come on," he almost yelled. They grabbed each of his shoulders tightly so they wouldn't be left behind. Naruto was just about to form the ram seal when his danger sense exploded. He hadn't even molded the chakra for a Shunshin, so he instinctively flash-stepped to avoid the attack that obliterated the branch they were on. Reaching the ground, the other two released their hold and got into stances. Sakura was shaking at how close she was from getting blown to pieces. It was only thanks to Naruto's speed that they were able to avoid that. Sasuke gripped the kunai in his hands tighter as he stared into the dust cloud in front of him. He squashed the tiny twinge of fear that went through him. Naruto was very serious about the Kyusa kunoichi being dangerous. Based on Naruto's tone, they were fighting an opponent who was possibly stronger than all three of them combined. Kyune had immediately snapped into his hands, with wind chakra coursing through them. He stared impassively at the dust cloud, knowing that whatever was behind it would be possibly threatening their lives in a way much worse than what Zabuza did. Their first priority was to run away, not fight. Because they had a worse chances of surviving than a snowball in hell. Plans flashed in his mind, each being discarded instantly as he tried to come up with a one that actually gives them a chance. He wasn't allowed to think further when his eyes widened in alarm. He executed a scissors kick to push his teammates away, just in time for himself to avoid the mouth of the huge snake that tried to swallow him. I cannot fight this snake here. I need more space, damn it. He cursed mentally. He turned in the opposite direction and purposefully set the pace so that he could bait the snake away from his comrades. Sasuke cursed as he tensed up even more, moving himself in front of Sakura. Sasuke-kun, we have to help Naruto. She screamed, already tensing up to jump when a slick voice, dripping with malicious amusement even while being female, spoke up behind them. No need to worry about your friend. He will be dead very shortly. You worry about me. Both of them turned around and the tension inside them almost doubled when they saw who it was. It was the Kunoichi from Kusa. XX. Naruto had already formulated a plan on what to do when he spotted a clearing. The shadow clones from earlier had all dispelled themselves, so that chakra had come back to Naruto. He landed in the clearing and turned around. The snake was huge, easily reaching up to 70 feet in length. As soon as he stopped, the snake lunged with its mouth wide open. He immediately jumped back, easily avoiding the mouth. Forming a shadow clone behind the snake, he instantly switched places with it. So now, the clone was in the field of vision of the snake, giving Naruto full access to its unguarded back. As the clone jumped around the clearing, Naruto hid on a branch and waited for the perfect moment to strike. As soon as he saw the snake getting into position so it was facing the exact opposite direction of the real Naruto, Naruto acted. He had practiced this until he could do it with just one hand seal, and he was so grateful for it. Clapping his hands together, he did it. Suten, Sudanha. Water style, water-severing wave, the stream of water that was expelled from his mouth was razor-sharp. So sharp that it could cut through thick boulders like a hot knife through butter. It cleanly split the head of the snake from its body. The clone whistled as he walked across to the real Naruto. The now dead snake laid across the full clearing. They both gazed at it for a moment, after which the clone said, "That was downright savage of you." "Thanks." He dispelled the clone and tried to piece his thoughts together. He knew that snakes this big were not there in the forest, so this was a summon. But there are only 2 snake summoners. Anko-sensei is not allowed to interfere as the proctor of this exam, so that leaves. His face paled rapidly as he came to a horrifying conclusion about just who his team was facing. He spread out his senses and cursed when he sensed absolute fear from Sasuke and Sakura's numbness. He disappeared in the fastest shunpo he had performed until today. XX. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the immensely potent killing intent that was permeating the air. He landed on a high branch and studied the scene below. The Kusa bitch was staring at Sasuke with a look of amusement, as if she knew she could end him any instant, but was allowing it to play out for her amusement. Naruto's jaw muscles clenched because she was absolutely right. Hell, she could kill himself any instant. Sasuke stood no chance at all against her. Who the hell is this intruder? He silently released all his resistance seals. Come now, Sasuke-kun, you know you can't win. What will you do? She chuckled. Sasuke shivered at the tone but spoke, "It's a scroll you want, right? Take it and leave us." He threw the fake scroll to the Kusa-nin, who probably thought it was just a regular heaven scroll. He barely refrained from cursing when she just threw it behind her, and the scroll went off in an explosion like the one that killed the team from Ame. Ku. You don't think I didn't know about the little trick your team pulled off? She mused in a dark tone. Damn. Sasuke forced out through gritted teeth. He was gritting them ever since he felt the unnatural killing intent from the Kunoichi, to stop from chattering in a show of fear. He was uncontrollably shaking when he felt her killing intent, and had barely stabbed himself in time to avoid being pierced in the head by her Kune. The Kunoichi moved, scaring Sasuke, who hurled shuriken at her. "Stay away from me." She dodged it with ease, and was almost upon him when a fist came out of nowhere, smashing into her cheek with such force that she was flown backwards. The woman, however, simply spun midair and landed gracefully. She absently rubbed her cheek as she stared, impressed with his ability to catch her off guard, and the power behind the strike. She looked into the impassive face of one Uzumaki Naruto, amused by the resolve in his eyes. Sasuke, for once in his life, was infinitely glad to see his comrade. Sakura almost sunk in relief at his appearance. My, you escaped my friend, Naruto-kun. Naruto's face gave nothing away as he answered, your friend is dead. The kunoichi looked even more impressed as she looked at him, noting the lack of any scratches or damage on him. Very impressive, Naruto-kun. Not many can dispatch my friend without sustaining damage, she complimented. Naruto glared at her, and she was faintly reminded of another blonde who glared identically. Why don't you drop that disguise? You're not fooling me. The woman regarded him for a moment and then laughed, hard. You are amusing. What makes you think I'm wearing a disguise? Naruto simply stared impassively. That giant snake of yours was a dead giveaway. Only 2 people are known to possess the snake summoning contract. I already know the first, which only leaves one option, Orochimaru of the Sannin. The way you lunged at Sasuke is the snake style of taijutsu, which is another giveaway of your identity. There was no outward reaction from the woman, but inwardly, she was more impressed. What analysis! To be able to observe and deduce things so quickly, and with just one look. That's easily Jonin-level thinking. The power behind his strike was easily Jonin-level as well, and it was well timed and placed. He must be incredibly talented and skilled. Shame that he is the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, otherwise that body could be mine, he silently complained. Sasuke was barely keeping from shaking. Orochimaru of the Sannin. The S-rank missing nin from Konoha and former student of the Sandaime. We stand no chance against him. Very cleverly deduced, Naruto-kun, the woman said. Anything else you can tell me? Naruto was on an even higher alert, ready to move at the slightest sign of movement from the Sannin. Well, it's quite clear that you are after Sasuke and by extension, his Sharingan. You sent a summon to dispose of me, and didn't even pay attention to Sakura, instead choosing to pick on Sasuke. Am I wrong? Orochimaru chuckled, which turned into a full-blown laugh. He stopped laughing and shed. The skin of the kunoichi was pulled off to reveal an extremely pale man with long, black hair and golden, slitted eyes surrounded in purple markings, almost like an eye marking. He wore a tan shirt with a long-sleeved black undershirt and a large purple rope around his waist tied in a large knot. Sasuke and Sakura stared in horror at the most infamous missing nin of Konoha, while Naruto didn't waver from his gaze. You are most interesting, Naruto-kun. Unfortunately, it is not you who I came for, he said, looking at Sasuke and licking his mouth with an unnaturally long tongue. Even Naruto was unable to avoid the shudder at the show of creepiness. He eventually said, sorry but, I can't allow you to have your way with him. I need him intact if we want to pass this phase. With that being said, he made the first move. With lightning speed, he slapped his hand on the ground, a large ceiling array erupting from his hand and onto the ground. The clearing was bathed in so much light, that Orochimaru grunted and was forced to shield his eyes, lest he became blind. When the light died down, the 3 genin had vanished. Orochimaru simply chuckled, before following them. He's certainly fast. Naruto was flash-stepping like crazy, his teammates held in fireman's carry. Sasuke shouted, put me down, Uzumaki. Naruto didn't miss a beat, only if you're as fast as me or faster. Sasuke shut his mouth and just held on, knowing Naruto was way faster than him. Sakura simply held on for dear life. This was the first time she was moving this fast, or had seen Naruto move this fast. Naruto was going full throttle, knowing Orochimaru would eventually catch up to them. He was hoping to find some help. He sidestepped just in time to avoid being blown away. Orochimaru had caught up to them and was looking highly amused. Face going impassive, he set Sasuke and Sakura down. Sasuke, hang back. It's you he wants. Sasuke scowled, but heeded the other boy's words and moved back to guard Sakura. Naruto had leapt forward to meet Orochimaru, fist to fist. They engaged in a furious bout of taijutsu, both of them becoming blurs. Orochimaru's eyes narrowed. This fighting style seemed somewhat familiar, and the boy was doing far too well. Punches and kicks were being blocked quite easily, but finger jabs were coming too close to vital areas. He needed to stop playing around. Naruto was giving it all, and his frustration was mounting because Orochimaru seemed totally unfazed by his attacks. He was landing hits, but they were barely afflicting any damage. He charged 2 Kyune with wind chakra, increasing his reach. He was forced to duck when snakes erupted from the Sannin sleeves. He flash-stepped away, hands lit up by red lightning chakra, causing Orochimaru's eyes to widen. Raiten, Rakure. Lightning style, lightning strike. The red lightning was barely avoided by the Sannin, who jumped sideways. Naruto immediately flash-stepped to Orochimaru, who was midair, and stabbed him in the heart with the wind-infused kunai. His eyes widened when Orochimaru just turned brown and crumbled into mud. His senses told him the real one was fighting Sasuke. He immediately turned and looked above, cursing mentally when he saw Sasuke being pushed back and taunted by Orochimaru. The Uchiha was blocking every blow, but it was hurting every time a hit was blocked if his contorted face was anything to go by. How weak you are compared to Naruto-kun, Sasuke-kun. He chuckled, watching the boy try to land a hit on his person. Though he jumped back just in time to avoid another punch in the face. Naruto landed by Sasuke, who was lightly panting. Sasuke began to back up, remembering Naruto's words, but a hand kept him in place. He looked at Naruto's impassive expression. I can't take him on alone, Sasuke. I need your help. It won't beat or kill him, but it might create a chance for us to run away, he said, carefully watching Sasuke. Sasuke breathed deeply, calming himself down. This was the first time Naruto had asked him for help, and it was perfectly justified. Orochimaru was not someone who could be taken out by even Jonin, much less fresh genin. If fighting together gave them a chance to reach Reet, he was willing to do it. Let's do it. Naruto smirked for the first time since the fight with Orochimaru started, and both the boys turned to Orochimaru, who chuckled seeing the looks in their eyes. Fighting together? Even that he was forced to block Naruto, who had flash-stepped in front of him and used the momentum to increase the hit of his kick. Sasuke converged in from above, and both the boys started fighting him. Sasuke was giving it all he had, and Naruto was more than glad to have a partner. He and Sasuke were perfectly managing to fight together, their blows not landing on each other. Weaving between each other's attacks without even grazing the other, the two managed to put a surprised Orochimaru on the defense. Naruto was faster than Sasuke, which meant that Orochimaru had to defend himself from two fighters of irregular speed. His body had to react fast and slow, at different times. Not that difficult for him, but the time it took for him to get used to it, he had already taken too many blows. Jumping back, he formed the snake seal. Fudan, Daitaka. Wind style, great breakthrough. A huge blast of air roared towards the two boys, who split up to avoid the blast of air. Sasuke sped through hand seals. Kaiten, Gakakayu no Jutsu. Fire style, great fireball. A huge fireball made its way to Orochimaru, who simply jumped sideways. He was surprised when suddenly, chains of water wrapped around him and smashed him to the ground. He looked up to see Naruto's fist heading towards his face. Instantly switching places with a log, he avoided the glowing fist of dense, blue chakra that would have likely cracked his jaw. He vanished in a burst of speed and dispelled the shadow clone who was maintaining the water chains. He ran around the boys in a blur, trying to disorient them, but mostly to see if they could follow him. Naruto and Sasuke stood back to back. Naruto was able to follow Orochimaru with his eyes and slower perception, though he doubted his body could move at that speed. Sasuke's Tomoe Sharingan was slowly getting used to Orochimaru's speed, when Orochimaru dashed towards Sasuke. Sasuke acted on instinct, grabbing Naruto's left arm and spinning him once. Naruto let momentum take over, having no time for surprise at Sasuke's choice of attack, and let himself be thrown forward feet first. His shoes met an arm, which he used to jump back to Sasuke. Che, Naruto said in irritation and jumped up. Orochimaru made to follow him when a cry distracted him. You focus on me. Sasuke shouted as he dashed to Orochimaru, engaging the man. The Sannin was greatly surprised that all trace of fear was gone from Sasuke. He easily blocked all strikes coming from the boy, but noticed it at the last moment, a blonde blur with fist outstretched to meet his stomach. He managed to block it, but was sent skidding to the edge of the branch they were fighting on. He was about to chop the boy unconscious, when a puff of smoke revealed it to be a shadow clone. Sasuke knew how to take advantage of an opening. So when he saw the puff of smoke from Naruto's shadow clone, he wasted no time. Dashing forward, he kicked Orochimaru. He was unsurprised when the man blocked it in a cross position, but the momentum at which he came created enough force to throw Orochimaru off the branch. The pale man only had a moment to show his shock before he was grabbed from the waist and sped headfirst into the lower branch. Naruto had jumped up to a higher branch and shot downwards with great speed, catching the missing nin from the waist and smashing him headfirst into a lower branch. He honestly did not know how him and Sasuke were working in a tag team so perfectly, reading each other's intentions so clearly, but was glad for it. Sasuke landed next to Naruto, and both watched in disbelief as what Naruto had smashed into the ground was revealed to be a mud clone. They both turned to look the other in his eyes, nodding to each other. Neither of them knew how they communicated like this, but both of them knew what had to be done. Naruto's senses kicked in first, showing Orochimaru heading towards them. He forced himself to react slowly and allowed himself, as well as Sasuke, to be hit. Both flew back from the force of the hit, and pretended to be knocked out as Orochimaru walked closer. What teamwork, you two. I've never seen such fine teamwork before in my life, even my own team. Surprising me with every move is not a feat anyone can perform, but you two managed it very impressively, he praised with a crazy glint in his eyes. Naruto chose to activate the explosive tags he had stuck to the back of Orochimaru's clothing. Orochimaru flew forward and landed face first, caught unawares. Now, Sasuke. Trap him. Yeah. Both of them took out shuriken and held them between the fingers of both their hands. Giving the Sannin no time to recover, they each split up. Orochimaru slowly got up, the burns on his back slowly healing. He had barely recovered when he was wrapped up in ninja wire. Glancing towards his right, he saw Sasuke lodging the shuriken wrapped in ninja wire into a tree on his right. On the left, Naruto had done the same. The wrap around him was so tight, Orochimaru mentally winced as his back hit the bark and the wire dug into his skin, drawing blood. Where is all this teamwork coming from? Kabuto said they did not work together at all. He enforced his skin with chakra when he saw it. Naruto and Sasuke landed on the tree in front of him. Let's go, Naruto. Yeah. Sasuke sped through 4 hand seals while Naruto formed the snake seal. Kaiten. Fudan. Ryuka de Taka no Jutsu. They both shouted together. The large dragon-shaped flame that came out of Sasuke's mouth was enhanced by the wind jutsu used by Naruto. Orochimaru watched with wide eyes as the utterly humongous dragon made of fire sped towards him. The flames barreled into him, burning his skin off. Naruto and Sasuke watched, with the latter panting heavily and the former critically gazing, as the jutsu hit Orochimaru. Hell, the combination jutsu was so strong that it literally tore apart the area where it impacted. Orochimaru fell downwards, consumed in flames and the upper half of the tree falling as well. Sasuke fell to his knees, trying to catch some breath. He had never spent so much chakra at once, ever. Looking up, he saw Naruto intently staring at the place where the jutsu had hit. Did we get him? He asked between deep breaths. Right now, he could care less if Naruto was exhausted or not. It certainly looks like it, Naruto murmured, trying to see with his senses if they indeed got him. Turning to Sasuke, it doesn't matter if we got him or not. We have a chance to run. That was all he could say when something pink, wet and slimy wrapped around him. He looked down and disgustedly noted that it was a tongue. It pulled him away from Sasuke, who had a similar expression of disgust. He came face to face with Orochimaru, who had not a single scratch on him, only his clothes were a bit burnt. He had a smirk on his face as he brought up a hand, 5 purple kanji lighting up on his fingertips. That's enough out of you, Naruto-kun. It was good for him that Naruto was channeling chakra to try and escape, making his seal visible. Naruto's eyes went wide as he recognized the kanji. He had extensively studied this particular seal. The Gajio-fun, 5-element seal, was a seal that his mother had highlighted in her notes. It was a seal that was mostly used to throw off the chakra control of a Jinchuriki. He had extensively researched it in relation to his own seal, the 8-trigram seal, from the notes that his father made while studying it. He hadn't mastered the 8-trigram sealing style completely, but he knew enough to know what would happen if Orochimaru applied it on him. His seal consisted of 2 4-symbol seals, creating the 8-trigram seal. The 5-element seal was an odd-numbered seal. If it was applied over his even-numbered seal, his contact with Kurama would be cut off. Speaking of whom? Naruto. Move, you idiot. You know what that was all he could hear from Kurama before Orochimaru hissed. Gajio-fun. His arm shot to make contact with Naruto's seal. Pain. It exploded onto Naruto, overwhelming his senses and setting his nerve endings on fire. It was such unmatched agony, that his vision blackened moments before he did. He couldn't even scream in pain when he was suddenly unconscious. The last thing he saw before falling asleep was Orochimaru throwing him off. XX. Sakura was in complete awe as she witnessed the tag teaming between Naruto and Sasuke. She had never even imagined that Naruto and Sasuke, who seemed complete opposites of each other, could work so perfectly. It was only the seriousness of their situation that stopped her from cheering her on. She pumped a fist up in victory when she saw the Sannin getting swallowed by the huge fire jutsu that Naruto and Sasuke cast together. Her feeling of joy turned to downright horror when she saw that Orochimaru had survived, without a scratch. It was only pure reflex that she managed to pin Naruto to a tree before he fell to his death. She watched, utterly terrified, but she got in front of Sasuke with a kunai held in reverse grip. She wouldn't let anything happen to Sasuke, she thought. Orochimaru suddenly sprung forward to her disgust and horror with his neck elongated and extended, fangs bared. Sasuke pushed her aside, allowing the snake nin to sink his fangs into the boy's neck, causing some sort of seal to appear. His scream though, it was terrible and she was sick of hearing it. Sasuke fell to his knees, still screaming, and then he abruptly stopped and slumped forward, unconscious but still in pain. Orochimaru chuckled and looked down at Sasuke with satisfaction in his eyes. Now, show me more of your power, Sasuke-kun. You were good, but can be far greater than Naruto-kun. He then glanced at the pink-haired girl, who flinched at his gaze. He chuckled, don't worry Sakura-san, you are not my target. If you quietly hand me your earth scroll, I won't kill you. He watched as the pink-haired girl pulled out the earth scroll from her pouch and held it out with trembling hands. He took it from her hands and promptly vanished in a swirl of leaves. Sakura fell to her knees in relief and exhaustion. She shivered at the way he addressed her. It felt completely wrong. She looked at Naruto hanging from the kunai on the tree and Sasuke on the ground, and for the first time in a long time, she felt completely and utterly hopeless. Skip here, only until Naruto wakes up. XX. Naruto slowly opened his eyes, groaning in pain as he got. That Orochimaru is on tough bastard, he grimaced. Kurama, you there? The only thing that greeted him was the great demon's silence. Yep, as I suspected. He's been completely cut off. And I can't undo this seal because the counter requires chakra control of a Jonin at the least, not to mention that it will require a foreign chakra other than mine. He made a half-ram seal and tried to create a shadow clone, but it looked worse than death. Pale skin tone, as sturdy as a blade of grass, not to mention he could barely get up from lying on the ground before getting dispelled. Naruto tried it again, this time with the cross seal. He nodded in relief when a healthy shadow clone appeared. Dispelling it, he tried to sense chakra signatures, but had much difficulty in molding the chakra in the required way. He sighed and got up, stumbling from the head rush that he got. He steadied himself for a few seconds, then nodded. Other than terrible chakra control, he was physically fine, mostly. As he stepped out from the underside of the tree, his eyes widened when he saw what was going on. Sakura was on the ground, looking like she was attacked by all the terror in the world. Team 10 was behind the bushes, looking terrified. Their bodies were filled with tension as they gazed at the scene before them. He even saw Tenten and an unknown boy, standing on a branch, trying to decide what to do. Seeing their gazes fixed on an unconscious Lee, he deduced that this was Team 9. Sasuke was standing, but he looked so much different from the last time Naruto had seen him. He was covered in black marks, almost like waves in a pattern upon his skin. And he was standing behind a member of the auto team, Zaku, if he remembered correctly, with a leg on his back and pulling on his arms. Zaku was screaming his throat raw, though Naruto couldn't blame him after seeing the way Sasuke was tearing his arms off. Wasting no time, he acted. Sasuke was out of his mind right now, no doubt being influenced by the evil, tainted chakra that was pouring off of him in waves. In a single flash step, he appeared in front of Sasuke. He was grateful that the flash step was simple enough that he only needed to push off after building up chakra in his feet. He delivered a chakra-enhanced open palm thrust right into Sasuke's stomach, knocking the air out of his shocked teammate. Sasuke was thrilled at the power that was coursing through him. It addled his mind, but he couldn't care less. It was like an adrenaline shot to his system, which made him feel more powerful than ever before. He needed to test this power out. The feeling of this power, his goal of killing his brother, seemed a lot closer suddenly. He made short work of the auto team and was about to permanently rip the arms off the last one. He was enjoying this, the effortlessness with which he was dispatching them. He absently wondered if this was how Naruto felt. Being stronger than anyone else standing before yourself. He was so into the task of ripping arms off that he was caught off guard when Naruto suddenly appeared in front of him, thrusting a palm in his stomach. All the breath left him in an instant as his hold on the auto nin's arms loosened. Naruto turned towards Zaku, who was close to losing consciousness. He looked at the nin whose face was covered with bandages. Take him away before my teammate tries that again, he ordered. The nin gulped as he gazed into the icy blues of the blonde. His stance, his way of speaking, the sheer power and resolve in those eyes, he had no doubt that this guy was somewhere at the top in power rankings of genin. He doubted even Sasuke could match him with the curse mark's power. He also knew that he was no match for him. Naruto, is it? He asked, making Naruto narrow his eyes and nod. He slowly held out their team's earth scroll. You are, no doubt, too strong for us to take on. So I'll make an exchange, let us leave, and we will give you our earth scroll. He dropped the scroll at Naruto's feet. Naruto's thoughts raced as he calmly picked up the earth scroll. Had they lost theirs? The Gajiofun had knocked him out for a day, that much he knew. He put the earth scroll in his left hip pouch and mentally sighed in relief when he felt the heaven scroll exactly where he had put it. He kept his posture straight. No need to indicate that he was, at the moment, weak as hell. He nodded and watched as the nin picked up his teammate and took to the trees. He was about to sit down to take a breather. He had still not fully recovered when his danger sense exploded. Shikamaru's voice rang out an instant later. Naruto. Watch out. Naruto instinctively responded. His upper body bent down, left leg lifting high behind to catch Sasuke right in his chin. The counterattack knocked Sasuke back. Naruto watched in complete surprise. Sasuke. What the hell are you doing? His heart dropped seeing the smirk on Sasuke's face. Sasuke spoke, testing this power, Uzumaki. I've never felt so powerful before. It feels like I can take on anyone, even Itachi. But first, I will see how you fare against this power. I will finally beat you today. He was sounding more like a power-hungry maniac at the end than the emo bastard Naruto was used to dealing with. He jumped back, yelling out, everyone stay back. Though this was bad for him. He was far from his peak condition, whereas Sasuke was fighting him with a power-up. He would have to knock the guy out. That was his only option right now. Sasuke rushed at him with speed. Naruto clearly remembered Sasuke not having the day before. He blocked the punch to his face, but was forced to remain on the defense as Sasuke did not let up his assault. He grunted as he felt the force behind Sasuke's strikes. Sasuke, stop it. We are teammates, not enemies. Sasuke only laughed. Ha. That doesn't matter to me. You will go down today. He then ducked as Naruto pulled out a kunai and made rapid slashes at him. Sasuke grit his teeth when he was forced to dodge every slash with a hair's breadth. But he also observed that he was easily reading Naruto's movements. Having gotten used to Orochimaru's speed, Naruto's was quite slower. He took advantage of an opening and caught his hand, giving the blonde's wrist a thrust that launched the kunai a few feet above their heads. Naruto wasted no time and jumped up, performing a flawless front flip that allowed his right heel to kick the kunai directly at Sasuke's face. Predictably, Sasuke easily dodged it, allowing the kunai to stick into the ground behind him, following with what was an effortless block to Naruto's left leg that was coming down on him. Naruto used the hand to flip off 20 feet back. Sasuke scoffed, do you think such weak and pitiful maneuvers can defeat me? Get real. He then sped through hand signs. Kaiten, Ryuka no Jutsu. Fire style, Dragon Flame Jutsu. Naruto watched wide-eyed as a huge flame shaped like a dragon headed towards him. He barely completed the hand signs in time when he was swallowed by flames. Sasuke smirked as he watched Naruto getting hit by his jutsu head-on. When the flames dispersed, instead of seeing the expected form of his teammate covered in burns, his eyes widened when all he saw was a kunai lying in the middle of the flames. He had no time to react when he was grabbed in a tight choke hold from behind. Naruto grunted as he struggled to keep the choke on Sasuke. Sasuke's jutsu was powerful, extraordinarily so, but the drawback was equally big as well. The huge wall of fire had cut off Sasuke's vision of him, which allowed Naruto to substitute with the kunai lodged behind Sasuke. The Konoha teams got out from their spots and in front of them, looking tensed. Shikamaru lived up to his reputation as a genius when he correctly deduced the reason behind Sasuke's momentary madness. That evil, tainted chakra that was clearly not Sasuke's must have caused this, he realized. He was ready for the moment when Naruto would call for help. He had also noticed, despite Naruto hiding it very well, that Naruto was banged up as well. He was not in peak condition, and stood very low chance against an enhanced Sasuke. Though he was surprised, yet again, when his blonde friend managed to put Sasuke in a position where he held the advantage. Naruto had tightened his choke, but Sasuke was still putting up a vicious struggle. He tentatively called out, Naruto, do you? Naruto just grunted a reply, don't worry, Shikamaru, he grunted as he leant his head back to avoid a headbutt and a broken nose, he just needs to calm down. He grunted when Sasuke slammed an elbow into his ribs. Naruto finally let his anger show. Why you? In a show of savageness that surprised all, Naruto, who still had the choke on Sasuke, slammed his captive's head to the tree next to him, hard. Sasuke went down like a sack of potatoes, the black marks receding from his skin. Hell, Naruto had smashed Sasuke's head into the bark so hard that even the bark had cracked a bit. Naruto panted hard as he stared at the unconscious form of his teammate. This fight had taken a lot more out of him than he expected. The 5 elements seal is proving to be troublesome, he thought tiredly. Shikamaru watched as his friend almost tipped forward to face plant, and immediately caught him, gently sitting him on the ground. Are you all right, Naruto? He asked in concern. He had never seen Naruto look even winded. But now, all he could see was exhaustion and hurt. There wasn't a single trace of the usual energy that Naruto always kept contained in him. Naruto chuckled. No, I'm really not, Shika. He wanted nothing more than to just sleep, but a part of his mind was telling him that they still needed to reach the tower. Chaoji walked up to him. Can you keep going, though? Naruto slowly stood up, and both the boys tensed when they saw him sway a little before righting himself. Putting a hand in his hip pouch, he took out a soldier pill and was about to swallow it when he stopped. He really didn't need any more exhaustion when the effects of the pill ran out. He put it back. Yeah, I'm good. He almost fell back down when he was hugged by a sobbing Sakura. He took a moment to realize how terrified she was. He just wrapped his arms around her, slowly stroking her hair, which was cut, now that he realized it. Thank Kami you are all right. She sniffled into his chest. She was so relieved when Sasuke had come to her rescue, but that relief had turned to terror when she saw how ruthlessly Sasuke dealt with the other team. She almost couldn't take it anymore when Naruto appeared. She watched in anticipation as Naruto narrowly scraped a victory against Sasuke and managed to knock him out. Naruto looked to be in worse condition, but she sobbed in relief when he managed to win. He released Sakura, who looked up at him with tearful and fearful eyes. He kept his hands on her shoulders and said in a serious voice, Sakura, we need to reach the tower. We can no longer delay. Shikamaru. The said boy straightened up at the call. We're moving. We will meet you at the tower. He nodded, even though a part of him was concerned for his friend. What about Lee? Sakura asked worriedly, looking over to the unconscious boy. Naruto looked at him with thoughtfulness when a voice cut through his musings. We'll be taking him. I suppose he got into another fight he couldn't handle. A boy Hyuga, upon seeing the eyes with long brown hair pulled back in a low ponytail and Hitaate on his forehead said, and with him was Tenten, who looked at him in concern. Don't worry Tenten, I'm good for now, he assured her. The said girl sighed, I can totally see that. I better see you at the tower, Blondie. Neji picked up Lee, slinging him over their shoulder and with a nod to Tenten, they were gone. That was quite abrupt, Ino mumbled, frowning. Naruto said, that's how they do. Well, we better get going as well, he reminded them. With a goodbye to Team 10, they departed in different directions. Naruto made a shadow clone, who picked up Sasuke bridal style and with a signal, they started running. He deliberately kept to the ground because right now, his body was hurting with every step. He doubted he could tree hop in his current condition. That damn snake had really messed up with his chakra control, he lamented. Naruto, what about Sasuke-kun? Sakura's timid voice broke through his thoughts. Naruto glanced back at her, and then at Sasuke who was still knocked out. He would have applied a seal on him to keep him knocked out, but applying seals with just your hands and chakra required high Chunin level chakra control, which Naruto really didn't have right now. He will wake up in a while, Sakura, he vaguely replied. Even he wasn't sure how long would it take for Sasuke to wake up, with how hard he had slammed him against the tree. He was also worried on how Sasuke would react once he woke up. Sasuke was already sour on being weaker than him, but now that he got beaten by a weaker Naruto while himself being powered up more than ever, Naruto really didn't want to think about it. He and Sakura kept running in silence and by the time it was late evening, the tower finally came into view. He turned to Sakura, fishing out his storage scroll and taking out 2 water cans. One small break, then we rest directly at the tower, he said, taking a sip of water. Sakura nodded at his words, before looking at Sasuke in concern. The said boy was on the ground, the shadow clone carrying him dispelled for the moment. They finished drinking and Naruto was about to summon another clone when Sasuke stirred. He stopped, and both of them looked to Sasuke in anticipation, who sat up, groaning. Sasuke slowly opened his eyes, thankful for the dark sky. Groaning, he sat up, his body unusually stiff. He turned his head, saw his two teammates, looking at him in concern. He tried to remember what happened. He remembered waking up at least. What the hell happened? I woke up. Sakura was being attacked by the auto team? After that, I was suddenly powerful? His memory drew a blank after that, but he winced as the mark on his shoulder burned a little. What happened? He asked Naruto in a low groan. He did not notice Naruto blink in confusion, nor the slight relaxing of his shoulders. Naruto couldn't believe it. He wanted to, but it was better to confirm. You don't remember? An annoyed face looked at him. I wouldn't have asked if I did, idiot. Sakura opened her mouth to tell that Naruto had knocked him out of his temporary insanity, but a look from Naruto silenced her. She gave him a confused look, silently asking why, but Naruto shook his head. Naruto turned to Sasuke. An unlucky circumstance is what happened. The auto team ambushed us in the branches. A hail of Kune came towards us, forcing us apart. You just happened to land on a branch that had wet moss on it. Your foot slipped, but luckily, since it was a lower branch, you only smacked your head instead of breaking your neck, he smoothly lied. He was really glad for what actually happened. He wondered if it was just his luck that Sasuke suffered short-term memory loss. It was better if Sasuke's defeat was kept secret. He handed a water can to the boy, who nodded gratefully. While he was drinking, Naruto took Sakura aside and explained. Listen Sakura, Sasuke cannot know that I knocked him out, he whispered. Sakura asked in confusion and a little bit of fear, but why? Naruto looked at her in seriousness. You saw how he acted when he tapped into that power, right? At Sakura's nod he continued, he's already insecure as it is, about being strong enough or not. The truth might send him over the edge again. You really don't want him attacking us, do you? He was glad that Sakura finally saw the truth in his words. He turned back to Sasuke, who had finished drinking the entire water can. You ready to move, Sasuke? The tower is only 2 miles out now. Sasuke chucked the water can into a nearby bush. Let's move. We'll stop at the tower. He was about to take the lead when Sakura stopped him. Ano, Sasuke-kun? Naruto still hasn't recovered from Orochimaru's attack. We have to move slowly, so it's better if Naruto took the lead. Sasuke was surprised at Sakura's suggestion and looked at Naruto. Now that his head was clear, he was surprised how tired and exhausted Naruto looked. What did Orochimaru do to you? Fucked up my chakra control, was the blunt reply he received. He nodded in understanding, though he was still sour about not taking the lead. The team started running again, and Sasuke was surprised that they did not take to the branches. Closely looking at Naruto, he narrowed his eyes when he saw Naruto's slightly winced face. It was hurting the blonde to even run. They finally reached the tower, and Naruto almost fell from exhaustion when Sasuke caught him. I didn't know a simple chakra suppression seal could do this to you of all people, he said with narrowed eyes. Naruto weakly shrugged. Sasuke then seemed to think for a moment and asked again. Can't you use Funjutsu to fix it? Naruto glanced at him tiredly. The chakra control I require to perform the seal is beyond me right now. I'll need someone else to fix it. With that, they walked into the tower, with Naruto's arms supported around Sasuke's shoulder and Sasuke's arms supporting his waist. When they entered, they encountered a riddle. If you do not possess heaven, gain knowledge and be prepared. If you do not possess earth, run through the fields and see strength. If you open both heaven and earth, dangerous paths will turn safe. This is the secret of something something. It shall lead you on your way. Naruto did not even need to think. It's telling us to open the scrolls. Sasuke and Sakura nodded. Sakura pulled out her earth scroll, while Naruto handed the heaven scroll to Sasuke. Both of them slowly opened it, unsure whether it's a trap or not. Naruto instantly recognized the seals in the scrolls and exclaimed, it's a summoning seal. Throw it away. Both Sasuke and Sakura did as Naruto said, tensing up in preparation of any threat. They were not prepared for Iruka popping out of them, at first with a smile and a wave, then horror took over his features when he saw how badly they were beaten up, especially Naruto. Kami, what happened to you three? He stuttered. Naruto took the lead, stepping forward. Iruka-sensei, is it possible for me to meet Hokage Jiji sometime tomorrow? I've got some very grave news. Iruka shook his head. The next phase of this exam is in 3 days, Naruto. And in that period, the none of the genin are allowed to interact with their senseis, much less the Hokage. Naruto sighed and motioned Iruka to come closer. Once he whispered in the man's ear. I'm pretty sure the news of Orochimaru being in the exams and ambushing us is quite important. Iruka's eyes, if possible, widened further in horror. Orochimaru! He exclaimed in horror. He then regained his composure and said, I'll be sure to report this to the Hokage, but you can't meet him right now. Naruto narrowed his eyes, I've got more to tell. Then tell me. I'll relay it to the Hokage. Naruto waved his finger, Iruka-sensei. Orochimaru is an S-rank missing nin and so, any information relating to him is S-rank. Only the Hokage can know. If he tells it you, no problem. But I'm only telling the Hokage. He even crossed his arms, showing that he was not changing his opinion. Iruka grit his teeth. Of all the times for Naruto to be as stubborn as a mule, it had to be now. But he also knew that he would only be wasting his efforts trying to convince him otherwise. He sighed in resignation. All right, I'll tell the Hokage that you've got news about Orochimaru, he hastily continued upon seeing the satisfaction on Naruto's face, but it's up to him if he wants to visit you in the 3-day period. Even the Hokage has to follow the rules, you know. Naruto shrugged, his work completed. There was no way Gigi wouldn't come to see him. Orochimaru was his former student and a very infamous missing nin. Of course he would want to know why his student was lurking around Konoha during the Chunin exams. Besides, he was also counting on Gigi to remove the Gajiofun from him. He wanted to be in top form for the next phase. All right, I'll take you three to your room now. Iruka beckoned them to follow and started walking. Naruto took a step and almost cried out in frustration when he almost faceplanted again. If not for Sasuke catching him in time, his nose would be surely broken. The three followed in the same way they had entered the tower, with Sasuke supporting Naruto. They went up a set of stairs, past a canteen and into a hallway where he opened a room for them. They entered gratefully. Naruto, get some rest and come out only when you feel rested, okay? He received a tired nod in return. He turned to Naruto's teammates, you two, take care as well. He closed the door after that. Sasuke helped Naruto to a bed and seated him. Naruto nodded his thanks to him and not bothering to say anything else, he flopped face first onto his bed and was out like a light. Chapter 15. Author's note, okay, first order of business, I had somewhat anticipated that the readers would like the teamwork between Naruto and Sasuke, but man. The responses were mind-blowing. Some may not have liked it, but I needed to show that Naruto is not up as everyone is believing. Stronger than all of his age? Definitely, but matching up to a Sannin? Come on, I'm trying to make it believable. Orochimaru is no joke at all. Naruto might match up to Kakashi with the Hiraishin, but not Orochimaru, not yet. Responses to the date were great as well. On to the story. Naruto slowly opened his eyes, thankful for the dimness of the room. He lay off on the bed, staring into nothing and thinking of nothing, and cleared all the sleep from his eyes. Sitting up, he was happy to find that he no longer felt exhausted and tired like yesterday evening. In fact, he could say with certainty that aside from having chakra control problems, he was in top physical condition. Looking around the room, he saw his two teammates sprawled out on their beds. Like him, they hadn't bothered to change or freshen up, they had probably fallen out a little after him. He took the opportunity to hit the shower first and moved to the bathroom. 20 minutes later, he was clean and fresh in a new pair of clothes and Sasuke and Sakura were just beginning to stir when he walked out of the bathroom. He grinned at their half-sleepy forms. Hey guys! He exclaimed a bit too loudly. He grinned a bit more when they just grumbled angrily. No one liked loud noises in the morning. He chuckled, anyways, I'm heading off to breakfast in the canteen. The bathroom's free if you want it. He walked to the door and just when he was about to open it when he turned and smirked, I don't know if the hot water is limited or not. Sasuke and Sakura froze for a moment and for a moment, they just sat like that. Sasuke was the first to snap out of it and was about to rush into the bathroom when the door was knocked, causing the two genin to pause momentarily. If Naruto had not been a censor, he would have probably slapped an explosive tag on the door and backed away. However, he sensed two familiar chakra signatures outside. Kakashi-sensei and Gigi. Didn't know they would come this early. Then again, this is Orochimaru we are talking about, he mused as he opened the door. Hiruzen and Kakashi's serious faces greeted him on the outside. Behind him, Sakura and Sasuke also tensed up for a second before relaxing. Naruto wordlessly stepped aside to let them through and closed the door behind them. Hiruzen turned to Naruto and said in a tone that unconsciously caused Naruto to straighten his back. Iruka said that you encountered Orochimaru in the forest. Naruto nodded just as seriously. Hi, Hokage-sama. He then recounted everything, beginning from the time when they first encountered him. How he was forcefully separated from his team, how he and Sasuke teamed up to take him down and failed spectacularly. I don't know what happened after I was knocked out, but I can take a guess, he said, glancing at Sasuke, who tensed up. Hiruzen and Kakashi both knew very well that when Naruto said that he could guess something, it was something worth witnessing. Naruto never guessed anything, he always observed, and when he had gathered his facts, he connected them in such a way that it was hard to argue with him when he had presented his deduction. Seeing Jiji's and Kakashi's anticipating looks, he continued. I woke up a day after I was knocked out. I was mostly fine, but when I emerged from their hiding spot, I observed that we had been ambushed. An unconscious Lee was in the clearing. When I observed Team 10's faces, they positively did not know when Lee had come, which meant Lee had arrived before Team 10 came to our aid. He was knocked out when I saw him. But, he said, glancing at Sasuke, who was staring at him with a neutral face, something was wrong with Sasuke. He didn't mince his facts. The whole room turned to face Sasuke, who had adopted a scowl. Naruto continued his explanation. I felt a strange chakra emanating from him. It felt very evil, for the lack of a word. It also caused him to become extremely ruthless while under its effects. What's more dangerous is that the feeling of that chakra was quite similar to what I felt from Orochimaru. Both Hiruzen and Kakashi had wide eyes at what had happened. Naruto seemed not to notice their shock as he still continued speaking. He was covered in strange black marks that were spread over the left side of his body. Judging from his euphoric and ruthless behavior, I'd say he was under the effects that are quite similar to when shinobi receive a major boost in power. However, an accidental slip caused him to get knocked out, and while it was only for a fleeting moment, I saw the marks receding to underneath his left collar. That confirmed Hiruzen's and Kakashi's worst suspicions. Hiruzen turned to Sasuke and asked, but it was more like an order, Sasuke-kun, can you please remove your shirt for a moment? Hi, Hokage-sama, came the quiet response from the boy. Sasuke deftly pulled his shirt off, and all the occupants in the room were wide-eyed, including Naruto, when they saw a strange mark on the left-hand side of his neck, its appearance not unlike the 3 tomos of Sharingan. Okami, Hiruzen breathed out. This was not good at all. Orochimaru had come into the Chunin exams and had put his curse mark on Uchiha Sasuke of all people, who was a major flight risk. Orochimaru knew that Sasuke carried a deep, revenge-fueled desire within him to avenge his clan by killing his brother. He had offered a source of power and gave a glimpse of its effects to Sasuke. Hiruzen became even more worried that Sasuke will go to Orochimaru in hopes of controlling that power. Naruto curiously asked in disgusted fascination, what the hell is that? He had a feeling that this was quite familiar. Hiruzen turned to Naruto. That is the curse mark of Orochimaru. I'm sure you know of this, Naruto. He gave a knowing look that confused the others in the room. Naruto furrowed his brow in thought, and it immediately came to him. Anko-sensei had showed him the same thing once on her neck. Oh damn, he breathed out. Sasuke was starting to get irritated that the others were talking about him as if he was not even in the room. What are you talking about? He near snarled at the 3. Naruto turned and walked towards Sasuke, pressing 2 fingers to the seal. While his sensory abilities were still blocked, being in contact with the seal negated the handicap. For a moment he just felt it out, brushing against it with a tiny amount of his chakra. He ignored Sasuke's flinch at the burn of the seal and thought for a moment on how to explain it to someone who did not even know the F of Funjutsu. This seal, it might sound extremely bad on my part, but it's quite a beauty. It's so complicated, so intricate that it will take years of study to try and find a counter to it. It's like a storage seal that can only be activated by you. If I had to make a guess, judging from when I previously observed you using this seal, it has Orochimaru's chakra in it. Not exactly the same, but just enough to tell that it's similar. He laid out his analysis. Hiruzen nodded. Very good analysis, Naruto-kun. That's exactly what it is. However, there is a risk in using it. A grave one? Sasuke raised an eyebrow. What is the risk? Naruto narrowed his eyes at not just Sasuke's question, but also the way he asked it. He could not say with certainty, but he almost felt like Sasuke was considering using that chakra. Naruto cut in before Gigi could speak. In the short time that you used it, it probably must have felt euphoric to you. A rush of power so potent and heightened, unparalleled by anything you've felt ever before. Am I wrong? He pinned Sasuke with a stare that advised him not to lie. Not that he could anyway, with Kakashi and Hiruzen keeping a close eye on him. Yeah, Sasuke answered hesitantly. Hiruzen and Kakashi were in awe of Naruto's deducing skills. If not for both of them knowing who his parents were, they would have thought he belonged to the Naruto clan. Naruto picked up from his answer, almost mumbling more to himself rather than his superiors in the room. And whatever feels to us that way, we are bound to resort using it again and again. Orochimaru must have kept this in mind when he designed the seal. Anyone who used its power would be tempted to use it repeatedly until they become dependent on its power. Turning to Sasuke, he said in a pleading tone, "Sasuke, no matter what, you have to absolutely avoid using that seal. I was told that it was nothing but a slave collar, a way for Orochimaru to make you kneel to him." Naruto carefully studied Sasuke's expression. By the end of his explanation, Sasuke looked angry that someone tried to make him dance to their tune. But underneath the anger, Naruto could see it. Sasuke was leaning towards using it when the situation gets worse. Judging by the looks on Jiji's and Kakashi's face, they had seen it too. Hiruzen spoke in a commanding tone, "We have no choice but to seal it immediately. For the good of others and your own." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "How will you seal it? There is only one such seal in existence, and that too relies on the will of the recipient." Kakashi nodded. "I will seal it with the Fujihoin, evil containment seal. But, as Naruto said, there's a catch," he said, glancing towards Sasuke. "What is it?" Naruto took up from where Kakashi left off. "The evil containment seal is only as powerful as you want it to be. The stronger your will to resist using that chakra, better will be the effects of the seal and better will it be contained." Kakashi stepped forward. "Come, Sasuke. You can relax after the sealing is over. We must do it now." Naruto smiled slyly. "I didn't know you were versed in the delicate art of sealing, sensei." Kakashi turned with a bored eye. "I picked up a thing or two from my sensei." Taking a hold of Sasuke, who had put on his shirt, he vanished in a swirl of leaves. Hiruzen proceeded to leave as Sakura closed the door to the bathroom. "Jiji," he called out. This was his chance to get his seal taken off. He lifted his shirt and jacket and molded some chakra to make his seal visible. "Can you remove this seal? Orochimaru placed it on me, and I don't think I want my teammates to know about my status just yet." Hiruzen studied the seal and saw what it was. "I can do it, but you better brace yourself," he warned before 5 kanji lit up on his fingers. On the count of 3. 1, he slammed the fingers onto the seal, exclaiming "Gajai Okane." He watched with satisfaction as the seal came off Naruto, who was unprepared and as such, fell on his butt. The 5 elements seal disappeared from on top of his seal. Naruto glared at the old man. "Where was the 2 and 3, old man?" Sarutobi shrugged innocently. 2, 3. All the best for the next phase." He shunshined away just in time to avoid a barrage of shuriken. Naruto grumbled in irritation, but brightened up when he felt his consciousness being prodded by a familiar presence. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them, he was in the valley again, underneath the tree that Kurama enjoyed so much. The said demon was lazily lying underneath it, his tail swaying behind him lazily, but magnificently. He stared at Naruto intensely, who grinned back. Naruto walked up to Kurama's head and sat down in front of him. "Are you all right, Kurama?" Kurama scoffed, sending hot air from his nostrils. "Such a seal can't affect me, but it did affect the seal your father placed on you. We aren't mutually inclusive." Naruto nodded in understanding. Kurama spoke again. "By the way, nice job on trying to fight Orochimaru. You were quite efficient in your attacks, if only to compensate for your weakness." Naruto simply waved that comment away. He had gotten used to Kurama's way of complimenting a long time ago. Also, the tag team that you formed with the Uchiha was quite impressive, considering how repulsive he acts towards you. Naruto turned serious. "Sasuke will do what's necessary to survive to face Itachi someday. Even if it means admitting his weakness right now and teaming up." Kurama gave a grunt to acknowledge him, but Naruto knew that Kurama could care less about Sasuke, or any Uchiha in general. "All right, I'll see you later, Kurama." Kurama nodded and settled down for a nap. Naruto then exited his mindscape and opened his eyes in the real world. Only 5 seconds had passed. Naruto smirked at the time difference, opened the door and proceeded to breakfast. XX. The next 2 days were pretty much uneventful. Naruto did not waste the time given to them. The day the seal was removed, his chakra control came back. He was better than before, hell, even his chakra pools had expanded quite a bit. Nothing interesting had happened in the 2 days, other than Naruto meeting Temari once again during breakfast. Nothing major had happened, except the two had made eye contact once and looked away quickly, both of them blushing heavily. It seemed that now that the tension of the second phase had passed, the awkwardness from the end of the first date had returned in full. They didn't meet each other again until the last day, when all the genin had assembled in an arena of sorts. They were pleased to find that all of the Konoha teams had made it, along with the Auto team as well. He already knew about the Suna team. All of the genin stood in a formation before the Sandaime, who looked serious and imposing, every bit the shinobi he was known to be. He observed all the genin from under his hat, and Naruto could see none of the kindness that he was usually known for by the people of his village. Congratulations on successfully completing the first half of the Chunin exams. You all have proven you at least have the will to become Chunin, but will is not enough by itself, however strong it may be. It's time I revealed to you the real reason why Chunin exams are held, one of the many truths you will no doubt learn later in your life, he addressed them. In reality, the Chunin exams are games of war, a representation of the conflicts between all the nations. It is a chance for hidden villages to showcase the best of their shinobi, who strive to bring glory to their homes. Other nations, all potential clients of our profession will watch the battles. Naruto tuned the rest of the speech out as he frowned and thought. Basically, what Gigi was saying is that the Chunin exams are a show of strength from the hidden villages, and they were merely pieces of the whole game. It made perfect sense to him though. The village received more missions and commerce, and in turn put more money in his pockets. He had no complaints to make as long as he was getting his due. He returned his attention to the front when Hiruzen cleared his throat. Now, I will. He trailed off when a jonin from the lineup of all senseis behind him jumped up and appeared in front of him in a kneeling position of respect. With all due respect, Hokage-sama, please allow me, the proctor of this exam, to explain. Naruto observed the ninja carefully. The man was decently tall, bandana with metal plate attached covering the most of his brown hair save for the few in the front. The bags underneath his eyes indicated an exhausted and, if the repeated coughs were anything to go by, a chronically sick nature. The Hokage nodded and moved back to stand in front of the lineup, his eyes sharp and present. The man cleared his throat and began speaking. My name is Gecko Hayate, and I am the proctor for the third exam. We usually don't do this, but it is being done this time. He said all that before being attacked by another coughing fit. The genin muttered among themselves as they tried to figure out the reason for the preliminary round. Shikamaru called out in irritation, what? Why do we have to go through a troublesome round like this? Like Hokage-sama explained, there will be people coming to watch this. Important people such as the royalty, businessmen. We want them to have a good time watching the fights. We didn't anticipate on this many people remaining after the second round. So for the best fights, the best fighters would be chosen. That being said, the rounds will start immediately, so if you don't feel your best, you can drop out right now. Your teammates won't be disqualified if you drop out, he explained. A hand rose up from the crowd, which Naruto identified belonging to one Yakashi Kabuto, the genin they had met back in the exam room. I forfeit. I have almost no chakra left, Kabuto said. Hayate nodded, always good to know your limits. You can leave. Kabuto nodded and walked away. Naruto's eyes narrowed in suspicion. He could easily sense chakra levels, and Kabuto's was almost full. In fact, he had more chakra than any genin assembled, barring Naruto himself. Naruto saw Ibiki speaking to the Hokage, who nodded. Nothing more. He turned his gaze back front. Speaking of sensing, Naruto's gaze shifted and landed on one of the jonin from Auto. His chakra was as normal as any of the jonin, but the very familiar maliciousness in his chakra gave him away. He was the only jonin who had such a feeling to his chakra. Not to mention, he failed to disguise his eyes. Naruto heard Kurama snigger as he thought, is Orochimaru an idiot or what? I'm surprised those snake-like eyes haven't been caught by Gigi yet. He turned his gaze away just before Orochimaru faced his direction. Naruto kept his cool, knowing that he wasn't the target of Orochimaru's stare. Hayate explained that now that the number of genin was even, they will now have 10 one-on-one matches. The victors will proceed to the final stage of the Chunin exams. He explained all the regular rules of an authorized shinobi fight and started the matches. All the teams and senseis went up to the balconies. Foreigners on the right and Konoha on the left. They all turned to the screen to see names flashing by, before they stopped on the first two. Akada Yoroi vs Uchiha Sasuke. Naruto rose an eyebrow. Looks like you're first, Sasuke. All the best. He wished the boy luck, but it wasn't said genuinely. Honestly, it was getting harder and harder to trust Sasuke now. Anko had once told him that the cursed mark brought out the worst, the truest part of you. Naruto had taken a glimpse at the real Sasuke back in the forest, a maniac who would do anything for power, even kill his own. He had no love for his own people. Naruto watched as Sasuke went down. Sasuke was his comrade, and as such, he would protect his comrades with his life, as was his duty. But to Naruto, that's all what Sasuke was to him right now. A comrade, nothing more. There was no friendship, no trust between them as of now. Sasuke officially lost them when he chose to use the tainted power and attack him with the intent to at least fatally injure him. Naruto would be wary of Sasuke now. Back in the arena, Hayate raised his hand before shouting, "Hajime." Yoroi placed his hands in a seal. "Let's do this." Naruto closely paid attention to the match. After Yoroi had placed his hands in a seal, his left hand had begun to emit a blue aura of chakra as he took off in a sprint towards Sasuke. Sasuke, for his part, simply stood still with his Sharingan active. I thought he wouldn't be able to use the Sharingan without being affected by the cursed seal. But no matter, I will win anyway. Yoroi panicked at first, then relaxed, continuing his assault. As soon as Yoroi threw his hand forward, Sasuke blocked it. However, he was shocked when he could feel his chakra leaving him. "I have the ability to absorb another person's chakra through my jutsu. You don't have a chance," Yoroi said smugly. Sasuke grit his teeth and immediately lashed out, forcing Yoroi to disentangle from him. Sasuke stood at a distance, breathing heavily. He had deactivated his Sharingan. "Damn it. I was too careless. I can't afford to lose any more chakra. I have to finish this fast, or I risk exhaustion from his jutsu," he thought furiously. Yoroi gazed at Sasuke, feeling smug about his apparently easy victory. However, that feeling soon disappeared when Sasuke seemed to disappear as well, right in front of his eyes. However, the Jonin and Naruto saw that Sasuke had just moved incredibly fast, crouching in front of Yoroi and delivering a kick to the boy's jaw. Naruto narrowed his eyes. That cannot be his speed. He was that fast only with the power of the curse mark. But that kick? Sasuke copied Lee, didn't he? Not bad at all. Yoroi was sent flying with the force of the kick. When Sasuke appeared below him, Yoroi instantly recognized the maneuver as the shadow dance. He had no time to be shocked at all. Shishi Renden. Sasuke executed a devastating 3-hit combo, with the last hit involving smashing Yoroi into the ground with such force that the boy was knocked out instantly. Sasuke stood back, breathing heavily and a scowl on his face. "I can't believe I was pushed so far by this guy. I should have been able to defeat him no time at all." Hayate checked if Yoroi was knocked out. When he was, he stood up and announced Sasuke's victory. Ino and Sakura cheered loudly at the victory, and even Kakashi cracked a smile. But Naruto was standing with a neutral expression, just looking at Sasuke and replaying the fight in his head. He copied Lee's techniques back when they were fighting. That Sharingan, quite a useful way to learn techniques, he speculated. Then he looked at Lee, who looked a bit downcast. I guess that's how everyone feels when they have all their hard work copied by the Sharingan in just a blink. I'll have to be careful from now on. Sasuke might just be looking for opportunities to use the Sharingan on me, he thought. The rest of the fights that followed were quite interesting. The next fight was Shino vs Zaku. According to Naruto, Shino won in a true shinobi fashion. Zaku could only use one arm, but he almost got Shino with his attack Zankuha. But despite being hurt, Shino was able to trap Zaku with his Kakachu in a checkmate. The bugs had actually stuck inside the holes of Zaku's arms, rendering them completely useless and making it a victory for the Aburame. The next match was Kankuro vs Tsurugi, the genin from Kabuto's team. The match was very short. Tsurugi could contort his body, his arms and limbs getting longer and trapping Kankuro in his grasp. At first, it seemed that Kankuro's neck was snapped, but it just turned out to be the puppet, while the real Kankuro was the one in the bandages. He turned the tables on Tsurugi and trapped his in the grasp of his puppet, breaking several of his bones. Tsurugi lost the match and Kankuro was declared victorious. The next match was Sakura vs Ino. Honestly speaking, the fight was quite pathetic. It was nothing more than two fangirls fighting, though this time, Sakura was more focused on her fight rather than just impressing Sasuke. She managed to land many hits on Ino before Ino allowed her anger to take over. In an impulsive action, she cut her own hair, trying to show her resolve. Naruto just shook his head, feeling second-hand embarrassment on behalf of them. This is what ninjas of Konoha are supposed to be? The previous Hokages must be rolling in their graves. Both of them just knocked each other out. Kakashi went down to pick Sakura up, while Asuma picked Ino up. Naruto was honestly torn in his feelings about the next match. He didn't know whether to ogle Temari and admire her, or to feel bad about his fellow Konoha genin, Tenten. The matchup for Tenten couldn't have been worse. All the weapons that Tenten threw at Temari were effortlessly blown away by the other girl. Naruto shook his head. Tenten overly relied on her weapons, and that was a glaring weakness. Without her weapons, Naruto doubted she knew any elemental jutsu. Tenten's final move, which was throwing all her weapons at Temari, was as useless as Naruto predicted. All her weapons were thrown back at her. Tenten flew up in the air, and was about to land on the ground when another swipe of Temari's fan sent the girl rolling on the ground, unconscious, surrounded by her weapons. Lee seemed to take Tenten's defeat quite personally, and felt that Temari was a bit too harsh. He moved to attack Temari, who just blocked the attack with her fan. The world of the shinobi is harsh, Lee. What Temari-san did was actually quite mild, Guy-sensei said in a solemn tone as he guided Lee back upstairs. Temari scoffed at Lee and turned to go back upstairs, when she stole a glance at Naruto. He was looking at her with a warm smile, silently mouthing his congratulations with a wink. She blushed and looked away from him, walking back to her brothers. The next match was Shikamaru vs Kin, a genin of the Sound Team. Naruto actually enjoyed watching his friends match. Shikamaru's intellect never failed to surprise him. She used needles tied with bells towards Shikamaru, who figured she would throw one with the bell and one without the bell to confuse him. She threw more bells, all dodged by Shikamaru. But he was shocked to hear a bell behind him. Turned out she used a type of genjutsu based on sound, disorienting him. After a little struggle on his part, Shikamaru managed to trap her in her shadow imitation technique. He threw a shuriken at her, causing her to do the same and dodged, but the wall was in her way and she was easily knocked out. All in all, it was a great match. Shika can go far if he focuses a bit more on the versatility of his techniques instead of just relying on the clan techniques, he thought with a smirk. He nodded to the guy, congratulating him on the match, but the boy just muttered troublesome and walked away. It was finally his turn. And his match was against Kiba. Naruto just sighed at the matchup, whereas Sakura and Kakashi seemed to wince. Even Sasuke felt his eye twitching. Kiba was in for a rough time. Ha! We got lucky, Akamaru. Kiba gloated, jumping down into the arena. Akamaru gave an enthusiastic bark of agreement. Naruto also jumped down into the arena. Now was the time to show a little of what he was capable of. Kiba didn't know of his true strength like his own team and Team 10, so he was likely to be underestimated. On the other hand, Kiba was likely to stick to clan techniques. This was a great opportunity to learn Kiba's ways of fighting. He wouldn't be revealing anything significant of his own. Naruto stood across from Kiba as Hayate stood between them. Kiba smacked his right fist into his other palm. Heh, I feel bad for you, Naruto. I'll end this in just one punch. Naruto showed no reaction at that. In fact, the Konoha Jonin except Kakashi were quite unnerved at the lack of reaction from the resident prankster of Konoha. His face was devoid of expression, eyes giving nothing away. It reminded them too much of a certain missing Uchiha. Hajime. Naruto did not bother falling into a stance. First, he would let Kiba do all the work, showing him all his techniques. He was not disappointed when Kiba underestimated him and dashed forward in low Chunin speed, after getting on all fours, an elbow on the way to get buried in his gut. Kiba grinned savagely when he neared Naruto. He doesn't stand a chance against me. However, that thought was thrown out of the window when Naruto sidestepped at the last second. Kiba was going too fast to stop, so he just went past him. Naruto grabbed Kiba's jacket from behind and threw him back towards Akamaru. Kiba grunted as he landed on his back, managing to flip up after the landing. Naruto just stood there, arms at his sides. He called out, "Don't give less than your best, Kiba. Or you won't even stand a chance of winning." Up in the stands, Kurenai frowned and turned towards Kakashi. "Kakashi, your genin is being quite cocky, despite being the dead last of his batch." Kakashi nodded, he has every right to be. Kurenai scoffed and turned back to the fight. "Kiba will thrash him, Kakashi. Naruto is no match for his speed." She missed the entirety of Team 7 wincing. If only you knew, they collectively thought. She was about to be proven wrong. Down in the arena, Kiba was scoffing. "I don't need my best attacks to beat you, Naruto." However, Naruto was no longer in front of him. His eyes, along with all the Jonin present, widened. He turned around and almost a whiplash and panic gripped him when he saw Naruto holding Akamaru by his front legs, the puppy whimpering in fear. Naruto's voice was as cold as his eyes. "Is this enough of an incentive?" Kiba grit his teeth. "I didn't even see him move. How is he this fast? And he's got a Kamaru. Kiba didn't waste any more time. A Kamaru. He tossed a pill into the open mouth of the dog. Naruto immediately dropped the puppy and retreated to a safe distance. Now I might get a warm-up, at least. He was wrong. Immediately after Akamaru had swallowed the pill, he grew larger until he was a regular-sized dog, with red fur. Akamaru dashed in a speed he did not possess earlier to Kiba's side. Kiba and Akamaru then dashed together towards Naruto, with Kiba throwing smoke bombs around Naruto. He expected Naruto to get disoriented and confused, allowing him to hit the boy easily. However, Naruto surprised everyone again when he flash-stepped out of the smoke field in an instant and looked at the smoke screen intently. All the Jonin suddenly realized what Naruto was doing. He was scouting, analyzing Kiba's techniques and strategies to develop a counter-strategy. So far, Naruto had gathered quite some info on his opponent. The Inozuka clan employs Ninken to aid in their battle. From what I have seen until now, Kiba's style is purely offensive, relying on speed and ferocity and augmented by Akamaru. His fighting style utilizes his claws. Kiba is hot-headed, plunging headfirst into this situation without any strategies, believing he can overpower me with brute force and speed. However, he employs distraction tactics when brute force does not work. The smoke bombs were to confuse me, and taking advantage of that, it would allow Kiba would land his attacks. The whole train of thought took less than a second. Naruto knew Kiba had much more to reveal. "Oh Kiba. There is no one in there, you smelly dog." Of course, Naruto meant no offense. It was purely to provoke Kiba into attacking him with his strongest attack, revealing his trump card to all. As expected, Kiba took the bait and rushed out of the smoke screen with Akamaru, both snarling furiously. "You'll pay for that, Naruto." Finally, he revealed it. He crouched on all fours again, with Akamaru climbing on his back. Jijou Ninpo. Ninja art of beast mimicry. A puff of smoke revealed that Akamaru had transformed into Kiba, with both Kiba crouched on the ground. Kurenai smirked on the railing. "Seems that your student is done for Kakashi. He may be fast, but not fast enough to avoid both of them at the same time." Kakashi just smiled at her. "We'll see, won't we?" In the arena, both the Kibas took off towards Naruto, their speed greatly increased. However, Naruto surprised everyone present when he nimbly dodged all of their efforts to land on him. What confused the Team 7, however, that they didn't know Naruto incorporated his fighting style to be so flexible. They didn't know that Naruto had indeed incorporated the snake-style taijutsu in his own style of fighting. This continued for about 10 seconds, after which Naruto decided that Kiba was still hiding his ultimate technique. He absently dodged the Kiba by leaping into the air, thinking on how to make him reveal it. Kiba grinned when he saw Naruto leap into the air to dodge Akamaru. It was pissing him off on how easily he was dodging them. He never knew Naruto was capable of being this fast. But now he had their chance. Gatsuga. The cry snapped Naruto out of his thoughts, noticing too late the twin swirling tornadoes heading towards him in midair. He cursed for letting his concentration slip and immediately threw a kunai behind the duo before he got hit with them. Kurenai smiled in satisfaction as she saw Kiba using his strongest attack to smash Naruto into the ceiling of the arena. "Your student lost, Kakashi. Might as well go and collect him, because that was Kiba's strongest attack. Naruto won't be getting up anytime soon." Kakashi smirked beneath the mask. "Well, it's not over yet, Kurenai." Kurenai narrowed her eyes and looked down, eyes widening along with Asuma and Guy when they figured out what happened. Kiba stood triumphantly over the downed form of Naruto. "Heh. You might be tough, but not tough enough. Gatsuga is a crippling attack, and you just huh." The Naruto on the floor puffed into smoke, revealing just a kunai. Kiba spun around just in time to receive a blow to his stomach that sent him barreling into Akamaru. Naruto carefully kept his eyes on the real Kiba as they rolled. The next part of his plan required it. He taunted Kiba. "I am getting bored, Kiba. I am finishing this now, if you don't mind." Without a seal, a shadow clone popped up beside him. "I'll give you only 30 seconds. Try to knock me out, will you?" With that, both of them separated, the clone going after Akamaru and Naruto facing Kiba. In the next 30 seconds, Naruto dodged 3 Gatsuga, all the while looking relaxed. He was waiting for the perfect opportunity, which arrived finally when Akamaru had to take a breath. Kiba barreled towards him with another Gatsuga, finally hitting him. The attack sent Naruto barreling into the wall on the other side, causing it to crack a little. Kiba was lightly panting as he stared at the downed form of Naruto. That'll teach you not to get me angry. However, panic gripped him for a second time in the whole fight when another puff of smoke revealed just who he had hit. A Kamaru lying on the ground, unconscious and heavily injured, if the blood was anything to go by. He turned around with wide eyes to see Naruto and his shadow clone smirking, both sharing a fist bump after which the clone dispelled. The Jonin above were dumbstruck. None had expected Naruto to substitute with a Kamaru at the last second. Naruto had used a simple, but a very clever tactic to take a Kamaru out of the fight. Now that Kiba was alone, the Konoha Jonin were rethinking the fact whether Kiba would be able to beat Naruto or not. Naruto said while smirking, "Now that your partner's out of the fight, it's your turn, Kiba." Kiba's eyes were wide with disbelief at how Naruto had completely turned the tables on him. Naruto, except for the punch that sent him into a Kamaru, had not attacked once. Instead, he just let the fight progress, letting Kiba do the work for him and taking a Kamaru out instead of himself. Naruto created 4 shadow clones that popped into existence with a Heffram seal. They all surrounded Kiba, who cursed at his situation. What happened next would be remembered by everyone. The Naruto in front of Kiba punched him fast and hard, sending him into the Naruto behind him, who roundhouse kicked him into the Naruto on his left. That Naruto spun anti-clockwise and his left leg caught Kiba in the chest, sending him backwards into the 4th Naruto, who kicked Kiba so hard in the chin that Kiba swore he felt his teeth crack as he was sent flying across the arena in an arc. Naruto then jumped across the arena himself, having timed the jump such that he was above Kiba in midair. Ha! The cry was to denote the victory in his voice rather than the application of force. Spinning to gather momentum, he sent a punishing kick to Kiba's gut that sent him crashing into the ground, creating a mini crater. He landed in a crouch a few meters away, facing away from Kiba. He already knew that Kiba had passed out from the pain. He looked over to Hayate, who was confirming Kiba's condition. Finding him to be unconscious, Hayate rose and declared, "Winner, Uzumaki Naruto." The entire crowd, including Naruto's team, was speechless. The teams outside of Konoha were gaping at the blonde, who was not even out of breath. What kind of training did Konoha give to this guy? The team from Suna had varied reactions. Kankuro was slightly sweating, not because of the punishment Kiba went through, but at how effortlessly Naruto delivered it. Temari had a hand over her mouth to prevent anyone from seeing that she was gaping in amazement. She had figured Naruto was strong, but not this strong. He had finished the fight with just a shadow clone and taijutsu, not to mention he didn't use any weapons, except for the kune which he just used for replacement. He had not given away any of his trump cards, and could dish it out hard without resorting to any of them. He wasn't even out of breath. But the reaction from Gaara was the one that worried them the most. "Uzumaki Naruto," he whispered, a crazed expression coming onto his face. "You'll prove my existence." Naruto walked up the stairs confidently, but stopped when Kurenai stepped in front of him, an incensed look on her face. "Was it really necessary for you to be so brutal?" Naruto folded his arms and replied, "I fail to see why you're so incensed." Kurenai put her hands on her hips and glared hard. "I believe, from your performance, that you were skilled enough to simply knock him out. Why didn't you?" Naruto checked in his peripheral vision that all the Konoha nin on the railing were watching in interest. Turning his attention back to Kurenai, he said, "You won't understand. Besides, there are people my age who are way stronger than me. If this were a real battle, Kiba would have been dead 100 times over in 1 minute." He wanted to say more, but held it in. He just walked away, letting Kurenai take in his words. The Konoha nin had to admit that it was true. From the looks of it, Naruto had gone extremely easy on Kiba, not even putting much effort. If he had put effort, they didn't want to think about it. Sorry for the skip guys, but I won't be writing any more of the fights. My main focus is on Naruto, so read it like the rest of the fights went exactly like that of in canon. After the fights were finished, Hayate called out, "Will all the winners please come down to the arena floor? We have a few announcements." Sasuke, Shino, Temari, Kankuro, Naruto, Shikamaru, Neji and Gaara arrived at the arena floor as Hayate addressed them again. "Congratulations to you all. You 8 genin are the finalists that will compete in the finals of the Chunin exams in 1 month's time. It will be just how it happened today, except your opponent will be decided right now." He pulled out a small pouch filled with chits. "You will pull a number from the pouch and announce the number you have received along with your name. By those numbers you will be paired." He started with Naruto first and then went down the line. Uzumaki Naruto 1. Aburame Shino 6. Gaara 3. Kankuro 5. Hyuga Neji 2. Sabaku no Temari 7. Uchiha Sasuke 4. Naruto -8. Hayate nodded and read from the clipboard he was carrying. The final matches will be the following. Uzumaki Naruto vs Hyuga Neji. Gaara vs Uchiha Sasuke. Kankuro vs Aburane Shino. Sabaku no Temari vs Naruto. He looked up from the board and addressed the genin. There will be 7 matches in total. The 5th match will be between the winner of the 1st and the 2nd, the 6th match will be between winner of the 3rd and the 4th, 7th between the winner of the 5th and the 6th. Sandaime stepped forward at this point. Now that you know who your opponents are going to be, use the following month to prepare for the finals. Your village will be represented, so while preparing, keep that in mind. XX. The next day, Naruto was walking at a comfortable pace to Training Ground 7, where he had sensed Kakashi. As he walked, he thought about what happened yesterday. Hinata had been pit against Neji, and it wasn't just cousin rivalry that was going on. Naruto had learned for the first time, listening to Neji talk, that the Hyuga were divided even among themselves. Hinata was the heiress of Hyuga, which meant that she was a member of the main house. Neji was a member of the branch house, and held a serious grudge against the main house, if his behavior towards Hinata was anything to go by. Naruto hadn't taken well to Neji verbally assaulting the already timid girl so much. Neji had to be stopped from landing a fatal blow to Hinata by the Jonin senseis. Naruto himself had sworn a blood oath to make Neji pay for what he did to Hinata. Maybe it was fate that they ended up being opponents. Who knows? Naruto didn't know the full story yet, but he won't be looking into it just yet. Right now, he needed to find Kakashi for his training. He leisurely walked into the training grounds and spotted Kakashi and Sasuke, both standing by the stumps. Kakashi, as usual, had his head buried in his porn while Sasuke just looked plain annoyed. He then spotted Naruto walking towards them in no hurry at all. "What are you doing here?" The annoyance was crystal clear in his voice. Naruto easily shrugged it off and replied, "I'm sure our sensei was expecting me. After all, we both need training for the Chunin finals." He easily smiled back, further annoying the Uchiha. "I was, indeed, expecting you, Naruto," Kakashi said, snapping his book shut. He regretted for what he was about to do, but it couldn't be helped. Naruto stared intently at Kakashi, straight in his visible eye. There was something going on that he did not know. Casting a bored glance at Sasuke, he couldn't find anything. D-boy just looked annoyed and impatient? Impatient for what? Kakashi found it hard to stare his student in his eyes. Those eyes that were full of intelligence, but always looked bored. But now that Naruto was staring at him, trying to figure out what was going on, he didn't see Naruto. Instead he saw his sensei, who only looked disappointed at him, as if already knowing what he was about to do. Naruto stared at Kakashi, waiting for him to speak. But for some reason, the usually cool Jonin looked a tad bit uncomfortable. Naruto mentally sighed, thinking that Kakashi would need some prompting to speak. Bluntly pointing a finger towards Sasuke, he asked, "Why is he impatient?" The question caused Sasuke's neck to snap towards him. It also caused Kakashi to finally regain his wits. Before he could speak, Naruto beat him to it. "Anyways, I came to ask you to train us for the finals, Kakashi-sensei." He was careful to say us and not me. "You see Naruto, the thing is, I won't be training you for the finals," he said, guilt bubbling up on the inside. The level of guilt grew exponentially when he learned what his student had come to ask for. But because of who Sasuke's opponent was, he needed to train him. Naruto for his part, simply stared at Kakashi like he was stupid. Inside though, he was a bit hurt. He knew Kakashi was the only man with a Sharingan still affiliated to the village and therefore, was the best person to train the last loyal Uchiha. But that excuse became invalid the moment he chose to become a sensei. As a sensei, he had to treat all his students fairly, without playing favorites. He could understand that Sasuke needed training because of who his opponent was, but that was no excuse to ditch his other students. What about him and Sakura? Naruto's posture straightened up, and he folded his arms across his chest. Other than the fact that Sasuke is facing Gaara and only you can train him with his Sharingan, what excuse do you have this time for ditching me and Sakura? He didn't mince his words. He had laid his cards onto the table, opting to see Kakashi's hand. Kakashi flinched heavily this time. The accusation was clear in Naruto's voice, and his question had hit a bullseye. What excuse did he have? He could not form an answer. Naruto watched Kakashi struggle for words and fought to keep his eyes from narrowing. He felt anger for the first time since Wave Mission, and it was smoldering. He knew that he himself had received special training before, but it was justified considering his position as the lone Jinchuriki of the village. Why was Sasuke entitled to special training? Naruto simply put his arms in his pockets and turned around. He really wasn't in the mood to hear another half-assed excuse that Kakashi would likely give to him. Don't bother answering. I can see you have no excuse, Naruto said, walking away. Kakashi decided to change the topic to at least salvage what little he could. But I did find you another sensei, Naruto. Naruto stopped, but did not turn around. If you mean the closet pervert hiding in the woods behind us, thanks but I'll pass. He was in no way training with Ebisu of all people for something as important as the Chunin exams. He had met the man when he was training Konohamaru how to use the Weroke no Jutsu. Needless to say, he was not impressed at all. The man's chakra was barely mid-jonin, and his attitude towards him pissed him off. Before using Shunshin to go away, he said without turning around. I don't know if you know or not, but Gar is like me, maybe even stronger, he revealed, causing Kakashi to widen his eye in shock. Naruto continued, even people like you would be hard-pressed to beat him. He flickered away, not waiting to watch the man's reaction or Sasuke's confusion. He appeared in front of the Hokage Tower, deep in his thoughts. He was sure everyone would remember what Gar had done to Rock Lee yesterday. The guy, with his sand, had crushed Lee's hands and legs so brutally, without any hint of remorse or emotion, that even Naruto had sweat a little. Gar was dangerous, and he himself didn't know how he would beat the guy. Kurama had told him that since the Ichibi was the weakest of all tailed beasts, he gave his host full access to his power very early, which is why Gar was so deranged. Shukaku had been influencing Gar ever since Gar could talk, so it was bound to affect him some way. Naruto did not care to go through all the doors. He simply jumped up to the window, slid it open and announced Yo Jiji. XX. Sarutobi was glaring at the paperwork before him with all the hate he could muster. He was about to start on it when he felt an exceptionally large amount of dense chakra heading towards him. He was about to stand up when he heard the familiar voice Yo Jiji. Sarutobi blinked at the blonde perched on his window, waving casually at him. However, he detected a small amount of sadness emanating from the boy. Naruto-kun, come in. He let the boy come inside and sit in front of him. He patiently waited for Naruto to speak. Naruto deliberated how to say it, but decided that laying it out seemed the best option. I need someone to train me for the finals. He had expected the confusion on Jiji's face. Why, what happened to your sensei? Naruto managed to keep the bitterness out of his voice. He is training Sasuke for the finals. Sarutobi had been a shinobi for almost 70 years, and therefore was adept at reading the emotions of people, especially the hidden ones. So it immediately became clear to him what had happened and his eyes hardened. Kakashi promised me he would treat his students without favoritism. How dare he break that promise? I knew he would be conflicted between Obito's and Minato's legacy. He should have at least found some middle ground instead of just tossing aside Minato's legacy. He raged mentally for a few more moments before calming down. Fortunately, he did have someone excellent who could train Naruto for the finals. Very well, Naruto. I will speak to Kakashi later, but for now, I do have someone who could train you. Naruto's eyes lit up with hope. You do? Sarutobi smiled and nodded. Why, yes. He is in the village right now. Naruto looked confused for a second, but immediately grasped the meaning of that statement. A smirk spread across his lips. Is he now? Without waiting for him to respond, Naruto was gone in a swirl of leaves. Sarutobi chuckled, returning to his paperwork. He looked forward to seeing what Naruto did in the finals. Naruto immediately spread his senses, sensing every chakra signature he could. A particularly large chakra signature showed up on the outermost point of his range. Naruto smirked and ducked into an alley. After checking that no one was watching, he flashed to the location. He had put his formula around the hot springs as well. Appearing silently in a blue flash beneath a large man perched on the branch of a tree, shamelessly peeping into the women's side of the hot springs and giggling, Naruto reacted the instant he appeared, jumping up and kicking the man into the women's side of the bath. He then sat down to enjoy the show. There were definitely screams of women and the pained screams of Jiraiya filled the air. Naruto laughed heartily at the beating his godfather was going through. He had settled things with him a while ago, and had no problem making fun of the guy. He didn't stop laughing even when Jiraiya managed to leap over the fence and out of the war zone looking no worse for wear. He glared at the blonde brat on the branch, who was wheezing so hard that he fell down the branch, not even registering the fall. Jiraiya growled and was about to kick the brat when Naruto finally stopped wheezing and stood up. His face was flushed with all the laughing. That's what you get for peeping, Arrow Sennin, Naruto smirked, folding his arms. Jiraiya crossed his arms in a huff. You know better than to interrupt my peeping time, Naruto, he muttered, though there was no heat in his voice. He then really looked at Naruto for the first time. He had grown well, standing over at 5 feet 2 and a well-built physique for his age. His hair was tied in his usual ponytail, and he still looked as bored and indifferent as ever. Anyways, what do you want? Naruto's expression turned serious and asked, with a hint of pleading in his voice, will you please train me for the Chunin finals? Jiraiya smirked, having already known what Naruto was going to ask. He had no problem training his godson for the finals, but he wanted to test his resolve first. What are you offering me in return of the training? Naruto gave a deadpan stare. What happened to being a respectable shinobi? The people would be mighty disappointed to learn that the mountain toad sage is a stingy old man. Jiraiya shook his head, not at all offended. I'm not talking about money. A lecherous grin spread across his face. I'm talking about your Weroke no Jutsu. It sounds very interesting from what Sensei told me. Naruto raised an eyebrow in interest. You really are just a pervert, aren't you? Wrong. Jiraiya shouted, waving a finger. I'm not just a pervert, I'm a super pervert. Naruto let a smirk across his face. Let's see you hold up against this. With a ram seal, Naruto was replaced with a naked, buxom young woman with smoke covering her most sensitive areas and her pigtails waving gently in the breeze. Is this what you were referring to, Jiraiya-sama? Naruto asked cutely with a finger on her lower lip. For a moment, he thought Jiraiya would fall over in a nosebleed. His eyes were bugged out to the max, and the man almost looked like he'd have a heart attack on the spot. But suddenly, he surprised Naruto with a two-way thumbs up, hearts replacing his eyes. That's very good. He almost crowed in praise. All right kid, I'll train you. Great. Naruto cheered and almost released the jutsu when Jiraiya stopped him. One condition though. Jiraiya stopped him. What? You have to keep that henge on the entire time we're training. Naruto dispelled the jutsu, looking plain annoyed. You are way over the top sometimes, Arrow Sennin. Don't call me that, brat. He barked, bonking Naruto on the head. Fine, I'll train you. Meet me here tomorrow, morning 7 o'clock. Don't be late. Giving a two-fingered salute, he was gone. Naruto chuckled. It was good to see his godfather after such a long time, and he was as perverted as ever. He was gone in a blue flash a moment later. XX. The next morning he met Jiraiya at the bathhouse again. Good morning, Arrow Sennin. Jiraiya grumbled, you're really stuck on that name, huh? Naruto said mildly, you have to admit though, it's oddly befitting of you. As they walked, Jiraiya explained, all right, first I need to have a measure of your current skills, so we'll go an empty ground I know a few ways away. Then after that, I'll help you set up for the things you need to work on, while I do my own work. Naruto interrupted with a dry tone, you mean peeping, don't you? Jiraiya didn't even acknowledge the question, leading them into a field with a large lake on the other side of the bushes. Jiraiya stopped in the middle of the field and turned to face Naruto. Show me what you got. Naruto asked in return, should I take off the resistance seals? Jiraiya considered it and said, start off with them, then when I say so, take them off. Naruto grinned savagely. He could strike without holding back this time. The thought spiked his heart rate, adrenaline filling his veins. He shot forward in a dash, his right foot towards Jiraiya's face. It was blocked by the man, but Naruto only needed to get close. He engaged Jiraiya in an exchange of punches, kicks, palm strikes and jabs, never hitting the Sannin, but not getting hit either. He realized that Jiraiya was just getting serious, so he decided to up the game. Disengaging, he formed the snake seal. Fudan, Kaze Jirei no Jutsu. Wind style, wind torpedo. A spinning ball of wind sped towards Jiraiya, who looked shocked. He knows Fudan. He jumped out of the way, seeing the spot he was standing on explode in wind. I would have been cut in pieces if I had gotten hit with that. He sped through his own hand seals. Ninja art, toad oil bullet. Naruto's mind worked instinctively, knowing what set oil on flame. Kaiten, Ryuka no Jutsu. As soon as the fire impact hit the sticky oil, it raced back towards a stupefied Jiraiya. He knows Kaiten. He immediately disconnected the oil. He turned around on instinct to block the punch from the shadow clone, kicking it and causing it to dispel. However, chains of water rose up and wrapped around him in a flash. He knows Suten as well. However, he was not allowed to dwell on it for long. A cry distracted him. Suten, Dai Sugadan no Jutsu. Water style, Great Water Fang Projectile. Jiraiya stared dumbstruck at the 20 feet tall spinning water drill coming from above, with Naruto holding the dog's seal. The drill crashed onto where Jiraiya was being held, creating a large explosion of water. Naruto stared at the spot where Jiraiya was, a wooden log in its place. His danger sense rang true, warning him from behind. He shunpoed just in time to avoid the heel that would have sent him through trees. Jiraiya blinked when he missed. What was that? Naruto then appeared in front of him, his face not giving away anything. Jiraiya rose an eyebrow, curious as to what the blonde was up to. You're fast, Arrow Sennin. But are you faster than lightning? He added a smirk in the end. Jiraiya only had a microsecond to get confused before Naruto was covered in red lightning of all things. Since the whole area was covered in water from Naruto's earlier jutsu, it acted as the medium for the lightning to race towards Jiraiya. Jiraiya was obviously not faster than lightning, so he grunted when he was electrocuted. It only lasted for a moment, after which Naruto landed a direct kick in Jiraiya's gut, sending him flying backwards on his behind. Honestly speaking, the fight should have been over by now. Naruto didn't need to let up the lightning, otherwise Jiraiya would have been finished by now. But Naruto watched dispassionately as Jiraiya crumbled. He flipped back to avoid his face from meeting the ground. Jiraiya grinned as he watched Naruto settle into a strange fighting stance. He's fast, and his taijutsu style is something I've never seen, but it had elements of the snake style. He hits hard and fast, even with the weights. His instincts are excellent, and he doesn't let his guard down even for a moment. He knows 4 nature transformations and he is pretty well versed in them, considering he used 3 of them with only 1 or 2 seals and the lightning without a seal. He almost had me there, if I hadn't substituted at the last second. A Jonin would be hard-pressed to beat him right now. Alright brat, seals off. He felt a little nervous at the grin that appeared on his godson's face, but shook it off. This time, he took the initiative, dashing forward towards Naruto. However, he was once again surprised just how fast Naruto was. His speed was easily high Jonin, with the reflexes to match. Jiraiya was hard-pressed to find an opening the fight. He was forced onto the defensive when Naruto took out 2 kunai, held them in a reverse grip, and channeled wind chakra, causing the kunai to look like blue daggers. He was on the defense for a while before he managed to disengage with the help of an earth spike, sending Naruto back. Naruto threw the kunai midair with deadly accuracy, which Jiraiya avoided by the skin of his teeth. Naruto landed and looked at him, and Jiraiya had to admit he was more than a bit unnerved at the grin Naruto was showing. Naruto then took out 2 exploding tags between fingers of both hands, held them in a cross and threw them such that they were on either side of Jiraiya, who scoffed. If you think 2 explosive tags can take me out, think again. But then he cursed and jumped back, because somehow, the tags were multiplying. Gajo Kibaku Fuda! Naruto exclaimed. A series of successive explosions shook the area. When the smoke cleared, as expected, Jiraiya wasn't there. He spread out his senses, but it seemed Jiraiya had a way to block himself from sensor-type ninjas. He sniffed the air, looking for the distinctive smell of oil, but other than in the clearing, it was nowhere. But he wasn't out of his options just yet. He still had yet to reveal his trump card. Hiraishin. Jiraiya may have been able to block himself from his senses, but Naruto could always sense where he had placed his jutsu shiki. Along the course of the fight, Naruto had placed his formula on the ground in multiple spaces. All of them were in his vision, all except one. Jiraiya in a tree 50 feet behind Naruto. Naruto wasted no time in flashing. Jiraiya closely observed Naruto while under a jutsu that prevents anyone from sensing him. He is good, better than what Minato was at his age. He's faster than most of the Jonin that I know. What is that technique, though? It seemed like a short-ranged shunshin, but not the shunshin. Those explosions though, how did he create those? The tag multiplied into copies, but the explosive power didn't diminish one bit. It was a truly ingenious seal. He is easily mid to high Jonin level. But now that the enemy is hidden, what will you do next, Naruto? He was flabbergasted, however, when Naruto disappeared in a blue flash. Naruto grinned as he connected a solid kick to the real Jiraiya's cheek for the first time in the fight, sending him flying through 2 trees and straight back into the clearing. Jiraiya flipped onto his feet, ignoring the pain completely and staring open-mouthed at Naruto, who used his Shunshin-like technique to appear in front of him. That was. He didn't get a chance to finish as Naruto disappeared in a blue flash again, appearing right in front of Jiraiya and punching him in the cheek. Jiraiya staggered back, clutching his tender jaw. Naruto disappeared again, reappearing behind Jiraiya in less than a second. A double palm thrust sent Jiraiya flying straight into the path of a tree. However, he already knew what he wanted to know. Jiraiya easily landed sideways onto the tree, then jumping down. He stared at Naruto in shock, who was smirking. His voice was barely above a whisper, "You mastered the Flying Thunder God." Naruto nodded, still smirking. He kept smirking when Jiraiya chuckled, which progressed into deep bellowing laughs. He hadn't had this much fun in a fight since Minato. He calmed down and stared at Naruto with a grin. "Kid, you could beat most Jonin with what you have right there," he remarked, and his opinion of Naruto only rose higher when he replied. "True, but there is always room for improvement," Naruto conceded. He still wanted to improve. He was still only 13 years old, so he had a lot of room for improvement left. Jiraiya asked with some hope in his voice, "Naruto, how would you like to become my apprentice?" Naruto's eyes lit up. "Really?" Jiraiya nodded with a smile. He would make a damn good shinobi out of this kid, even stronger than Minato. Naruto jumped up in joy. "Yada." Naruto looked at Jiraiya with his blue eyes shining. "Does that mean?" He didn't even finish his question when a scroll appeared in Jiraiya's hands, offering it to Naruto. Naruto opened the scroll and his eyes softened when he saw the name of the latest Toad summoner. "Dad," his eyes moistened as he rubbed them. He took out a kunai and cut his right thumb. Just as he was about to sign on it, Kurama stopped him. "Wait, Naruto." Naruto's thumb stopped short of the scroll, brow furrowing in confusion with Jiraiya. He looked over to Jiraiya, pointing towards his stomach and then to his mind. Jiraiya's eyebrows rose disbelievingly. "The Kyuubi is speaking to you." Naruto nodded absently as he put his thumb in his mouth. "What is it, Kurama?" "Don't sign the contract," the fox rumbled. Naruto rose an eyebrow in challenge. "Why not? They are powerful." What he heard next caught him off guard. "The Fox contract is even more powerful." Naruto couldn't help but blurt it out, "You want me to sign the Fox contract?" Jiraiya's eyes widened. "There is a Fox contract." He couldn't believe that the Kyuubi of all beings was trying to persuade Naruto to sign a contract that was the same as its species. He watched as Naruto's face cycled through different expressions. First shock, confusion, challenging, speculation, agreement, and finally resignation. Naruto sighed. "Kurama wants me to sign the Fox contract, Arrow Sennin." "Kurama?" Naruto gave him a look. "The Kyuubi has a name, you know. And he won't accept me signing any other contract than that of the Fox." He looked up to Jiraiya with worried eyes. "Does that mean I won't be able to become your apprentice?" Jiraiya was frowning, and that only fueled Naruto's worry. "Are you friends with Kurama?" Naruto looked confused as to why Jiraiya was asking this question, but nodded. Jiraiya then surprised Naruto by chuckling. "No worries, Naruto," he declared. "You might not become a Toad summoner or apprentice, but you will still be my apprentice. Who knows, you might even become a better summoner than me one day." Jiraiya was deeply hurt and sad that Naruto won't be able to become a Toad summoner like him or Minato. But he really didn't want to antagonize the demon fox residing inside Naruto, not to mention the prophecy that the Toads gave him. The key to Naruto's seal was with the Toad clan, so Jiraiya was the only one who can give it to him now. He hates Toads. Jiraiya blinked, snapping out of his thoughts. "What?" Naruto ignored Kurama's enraged yells. "He doesn't want to be associated with Toads." The reason he explained for a long time how foxes are superior to Toads in every way is because he can't be upfront about his feelings. Jiraiya was finding it hard not to chuckle, lest the Kyuubi forcefully send some chakra into Naruto in an attempt to kill him. The aspect of Kurama he just learned, it was surprisingly human. He figured it was fair reason for Naruto not signing the Toad contract. But that left a problem. "Where will you find the Fox contract though?" Naruto answered. "Kurama told me that for shinobi to use summoning jutsu successfully, they have to have a contract with an animal. But if a shinobi performs the summoning jutsu without a contract, they will be transported to the realm of the animal they are most suited to have a contract with." Jiraiya remembered with a grimace when he had tried to do the same and ended up on Mount Myoboku. "That's true." Naruto shrugged. "Then I will do the same, but my case is a bit special. Due to having Kurama, a fox demon inside me, I automatically qualify to become a fox summoner. So performing the jutsu will take me straight to the fox realm." Jiraiya thought over it a bit. It was a sound theory, but if it didn't work, Naruto would have no way to come back. What if doesn't work? Naruto blinked then winced. Kurama doesn't like other people questioning his intelligence. Jiraiya paled, but nodded and told Naruto the hand signs. You perform the hand signs boar, dog, bird, monkey and ram and slam your hand onto a surface. That's the gist of it. Boar, dog, bird, monkey, ram. Naruto made each hand seal slowly, his anticipation clear for Jiraiya to see. As soon as he completed the sequence, Naruto slammed his hand on the ground. A sealing array, which Naruto guessed was a contract seal, erupted and he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Jiraiya exhaled a sigh and sat down, waiting for his godson to return. XX. Naruto appeared in the realm of the foxes, shaking his head at the sight dizziness. The sensation of traveling was not unlike Hiraishin. He heard Kurama's voice in his head, which was filled with the emotion one goes through when they come back home. Welcome to Kitsune no Kuni, Hiwa no Oka. The Hills of Peace. Naruto gazed awestruck at the realm of the foxes. It was the most beautiful place Naruto had ever seen, so exotic that it felt like the true symbolization of nature. It looked very much like a hill station, but instead of houses, a number of caves were on each hill. There were 5 hills in total, leading up to a huge mountain, the top of which was among the clouds. The place was so full of ambiance that Naruto had unknowingly sat down just to admire the beauty of the place. He had never felt this close to nature ever before. Naruto had never seen so many foxes in one place before. Beautiful, isn't it? Kurama spoke in a soft tone, well as soft his rumbling voice could become. Naruto agreed in an equally soft voice, afraid that if he spoke above a whisper it would shatter the peace of the place. Yeah. He just kept gazing at the valley, a soft smile on his face, not even noticing that a brown fox had spotted him and alerted the others. A snarl interrupted his thoughts and he found himself gazing at around 15 snarling foxes of different colors, who looked not the least bit friendly. Naruto unconsciously straightened up while sitting Indian style, making eye contact with the lead, silver fox. He didn't mask himself, instead, he revealed who he truly was through his eyes. The fox stopped snarling, and adopted what looked like curiosity on his face. He looked into Naruto's eyes for several moments, Naruto not flinching away for even a moment. Who are you, human? The smooth tenor surprised Naruto only for a second, but he recovered. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. May I know yours? Best to be polite rather than hostile. Osamu, came the reply. What are you doing here, Uzumaki Naruto? Naruto didn't know whether his answer would infuriate Osamu or not, but it would be unwise to lie. Foxes are extremely clever creatures. I was told to come here by Kurama to sign the contract of the foxes. He gulped when he saw Osamu's face twisting, revealing his sharp teeth. It did not help that Osamu was almost as tall when Naruto was standing. You have some nerve, addressing the Lord of Foxes by his name, without an honorific no less. Naruto spoke before he would be forced to defend himself, because he lives inside me. Osamu blinked, not understanding Naruto's statement at first. But when he realized what it meant, his face twisted into a snarl once again and he got into an attack position. Why you? Stop. A simple command from a soft voice caused all the foxes to turn around. Naruto found himself gazing at a regal-looking red fox. The voice was obviously female, filled with power and superiority but at the same time, a warm and comforting tone. She looked beautiful. The red fox strode towards Naruto, assessing him with her gaze. The foxes parted for her and soon she was looking down at Naruto. Stand up, Naruto-kun. Naruto blinked at the soft tone, but did as she said. Soon, his eyes were level with the red female fox. She gazed into his eyes for a moment, then spoke. We have been waiting for you, Naruto-kun. Naruto rose a puzzled eyebrow, waiting for me. The red fox smiled and said, Come, we have much to talk about. She turned around and from the way everyone bowed to her, she must be a pretty important fox around here. He walked after her as she led the way. I understand Kyuubi-sama told you to come here. Why yes, he did. The red fox chuckled, no need to be afraid, Naruto-kun. You are one of us now. Or you will be after you sign the contract. Naruto then spoke, his confidence returning but still being cautious. I never did get your name, Kitsune-sama. The female fox chuckled, that's because I never told you. My name is Naomi. Naruto smiled, nice to meet you, Naomi-sama. Naomi laughed softly, you are very well-mannered, Naruto-kun. It is nice to meet you too. Naruto then said, not to be rude or anything, but having an animal contract is pretty serious. So shouldn't I be tested if I am worthy of the contract or not? Naomi easily replied, the word of Kyuubi-sama is proof enough. Believe me, if Kyuubi-sama didn't think you were worthy, he wouldn't have even told you that we exist. Naruto listened as Naomi told him the history of how the Kitsune contract came to be. Many years ago, way before the era of the cage, Kyuubi was still a free demon. It was a misconception that Kyuubi randomly attacked human settlements. In truth, Kyuubi only attacked those human settlements where the greatest concentration of negative feelings was. People were right to fear the Kyuubi, but they started taking out their anger on the normal foxes, attacking and killing a fox whenever it came into their sights. Kyuubi listened to the plight of the foxes and created this realm in a remote corner of the world, so that foxes can live without having to look over their shoulders every few moments. The foxes settled down in these hills, and over time, they became beings that were strong and intelligent enough to create a summoning contract of their own. However, there was only one person worthy enough to become their summoner. Then, a prophecy was told that a boy judged worthy by their lord would become the next summoner of the foxes and would change the world. Naruto was frowning at the end of the explanation. I get the history of the foxes, Naomi-sama, but I was mentioned in a prophecy. Naomi saw that Naruto was likely to prod at that, so she changed the subject. A story for another time. For now, you need to meet the boss of the Kitsune. They arrived at a large gate, which stood well over 120 meters. But what caused Naruto's mouth to drop were the guards that stood on either side of the doors. They were easily 70 to 80 meters, humanoid foxes like Kurama, with the opposable thumbs and all. They were wearing black, full sleeves hori and had swords strapped to their waists. The most notable features though, were the 5 tails that lay 8 rest behind them. At Naruto's dumbfounded look, Naomi chuckled and explained. They are boss-level fighters, Naruto-kun. The number of tails they have denote their level of strength, and as such, rank is given out. But you don't need to know that right now. She nodded to the guards, who bowed deeply to her and proceeded to open the gates. Naomi-sama, you seem to be an important figure around here, Naruto commented as they proceeded inside. Naomi winked at him. If you must know, I am a member of the High Council of the Kitsune. She laughed at Naruto's pale face and walked inside. Naruto snapped out of his shock and ran after her. The sight on the inside was just as shocking as it was on the outside. Large foxes, with tails that varied from 2 to 6, were inside sparring with each other with various weapons. Naruto found it curious that none of the noise was heard when they were standing outside the gates. A silencing barrier, perhaps? He marveled at the sheer amount of chakra he was sensing from each of them. It was easily S rank, surpassing the cage level. Naruto himself had cage-level chakra reserves due to having Kurama inside him and Uzumaki lineage. He looked around in awe, keeping up with Naomi, until he spotted a fox. The fox was easily the tallest of all, standing a bit taller than everyone. And he had 7 tails, making him the strongest fox here. Which meant he was the boss of the Kitsune. He had a deep blue fur, and wore a red hori which had the kanji for boss on the back. On his waist was strapped a chakudo. Naomi walked up to the boss, and as she did, Naruto noticed that everyone had stopped fighting and was bowing to her. After she acknowledged their now, they turned their attention to Naruto. As Naruto expected, they looked at him strangely, probably wondering what a human was doing in their realm. Naomi walked up to the boss of the Kitsune, who bowed deeply to her as well. Naomi-sama, his voice was deep like Kurama, but unlike the demon's rumbling, his voice was a deep, smooth baritone. Takashi, she acknowledged. The now dubbed Takashi straightened up and asked, Naomi-sama, what can I do for you today? Naomi's voice was full of authority. I want you to meet and judge the newest summoner of the Kitsune. The one who is mentioned in the prophecy. Takashi frowned and asked, has he already arrived then? He then turned his eyes onto Naruto, who had to crane up his neck to see him. Takashi bent down to take a greater look at Naruto. After a long moment, he dryly commented, you're tiny. Naruto almost face-planted at that. Even the other foxes were sniggering with mirth. Only Naomi was the one watching the conversation with a serious eye. Naruto snarked at him, well, I can't be as tall as you now, can I? Naruto got the impression that he had just insulted the boss, if the sucking of breath and straightening of backs from the other foxes was any indication. Takashi's eyes narrowed, but Naruto didn't show a hint of fear. He had come too far to get afraid now. I see you are quite witty yourself. But I have to ask, Naomi-sama, he turned his attention to Naomi, who judged him worthy. Kyuubi-sama. The single answer was enough for Takashi to widen his eyes, along with all the other foxes. I see, he said slowly, straightening up. He gazed at Naruto. What is your name? Uzumaki Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto. He rolled the name over his tongue, testing it out. He held an arm out. Climb on, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto wasn't startled this time, jumping onto the arm. Takashi looked at him with a critical eye. If Kyuubi-sama has judged you worthy to be our summoner, then I have no doubt that you are strong. But physical strength isn't everything. As the Kitsune, we value wisdom and cleverness as much as we value our physical strength. So answer me this, Uzumaki Naruto, when you stop and look, you can always see it. If you try to touch, you cannot feel it. It cannot move, but as you near it, it moves away from you. What is it? Naruto thought for a moment and replied, it's the horizon. If Takashi was surprised, he did an excellent job of hiding it. He chuckled, what a sharp wit you have, Uzumaki Naruto. You are strong in the mind as well, as expected from someone who is to be our summoner. He surprised Naruto by gently setting his hand on the ground, saving Naruto from jumping from such a height. He smiled, the Kitsune will be glad to serve as your summons, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto grinned widely and put a thumbs up, declaring loudly, I look forward to working with you guys as well. Takashi chuckled loudly and said, Naomi-sama, now that I have judged our summoner, perhaps you should give him the contract. Naomi nodded and slapped her right front foot on the ground. A sealing array spread out and in a puff of smoke, a large red scroll was revealed. Naomi spread it open and gestured Naruto to sign it. Naruto nodded, took a kune, cutting his thumb and letting some blood flow out. Naruto deftly put his name onto one of the columns, absently noting the name of the previous summoner. Yamamoto Arashi. Naruto couldn't make anything of that name, so he put it at the back of his mind. Placing the top of all his fingers beneath his name, he released a breath. He was finally a fox summoner now. He watched as Naomi rolled the scroll up and it disappeared into a puff of smoke, presumably returning to where it came from. Naomi smiled at Naruto and said, Congratulations, Naruto-kun. We welcome you as the summoner of foxes. Naruto smiled and nodded. Naomi then addressed him, now that is over, I presume you know how to return. Naruto rose an eyebrow, it's the same way isn't it? Kachiyos without the blood. When Naomi nodded, Naruto smiled and immediately performed the seals, saying, I'll summon you as soon as I can, Takashi-san. With that, Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke. One of the foxes scoffed, as if he could summon you, Takashi-sama. He was not expecting a blade to his throat, with Takashi holding it with narrowed eyes. He gulped as his boss growled, I will not tolerate anyone insulting our new summoner. Is that clear? He asked the question to everyone. Hi. Naomi muttered to herself, things are starting to look interesting on the horizon, Naruto-kun. XX. Only 5 seemed to pass, but even then Jiraiya was close to chewing his nails. He was about to go into panic mode when a puff of smoke revealed Naruto, standing triumphantly with arms crossed. Jiraiya almost melted in relief, then asked the relevant question. Did you get it? Naruto grinned and spread his arms, you are now looking at the newest summoner of the Kitsune clan.